receiving this transmission. You are the resistance.
What did Jonathan Gruber say 3 years ago on C-SPAN? He said, thank God the public has no attention span, and thank God you're so stupid. They know you get busy taking care of your family, paying your bills, getting your car fixed, taking the cat to the vet. They know that. And the reason they hate Infowars.com, and the reason they hate you and just the listeners and researchers on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else is we remember things and we go back and we get it. And they think we're so dumb that during the campaign, the last 4 or 5 months of the campaign, going back a year ago, and right through to the inauguration when he was president-elect, MSM was all over the place, every newspaper, every controlled corporate news network, saying, we have the wiretaps, you're a Russian agent, Trump. And then Trump said, well, that's illegal, and it's also illegal to leak that. I'm going to prosecute you. And they went, oh, we never did it. We never did it. It doesn't exist. It's not happening. And then they attacked us because they knew full well InfoWars got to the president's desk. So did Drudge, so did Breitbart. That's all in an Associated Press article about it. And they're so proud of themselves in the AP going back a few months ago. Well, it was caught at the president's desk. InfoWars had a screenshot of the New York Times and misrepresented what was in it to the president. But we're stopping that getting to him now. Over and over again about the illegals voting, which they now admit. The carbon taxes, the TPP, all of it, we're right, they're wrong. And so we remembered that they had been saying they were spying on him in hundreds and hundreds of articles, and that Obama was transferring all the secret data to the news in the last weeks that he was in office to make sure Trump couldn't cover up what he'd really done. But there was nothing there, just like there was nothing in the Comey memo. Later they admitted there was no perjury or subordination of perjury or any of the things Comey said was in the memo. And then we learned he was the one that leaked it, even though he testified that he wasn't the one. So a little bird told me that Comey is 1 millimeter from being indicted. A little bird also told me that 2 days ago, and one of those little birds is going to join us, Roger Stone, who obviously was former business partners with Manafort, that they were told last week, you are indicted. Now, Roger wanted to wait till today to break that, so the Daily Caller halfway scooped it, which is fine with me, saying he's been told that they're bringing an indictment to the grand jury. No, no, no. This is a kept grand jury in the District of Criminals, total swamp things, and Mueller already told him, you better make up some stuff about Trump. You better turn against him or we're going to burn you. We've already got the indictment, is what he was told. We got the indictment. It's not, oh, we're going to get one to the, to the grand jury and ask them to look at indicting. No, 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 no. They've got the indictment before they ever talked to the grand jury. Mueller pulled it out of his rear end, just like everything else he does, covering up the crimes, the Clintons, the Bushes, the deep state. What a swamp thing. No mama, no mania, no problems. Mueller reportedly plans to indict Manafort. No, they've told him, you are indicted. But let's go out to break with CNN. Oh, Trump may have been right about being spied on. No, he wasn't maybe right. He was right all along because it's a public fact. Here it is.
The Justice Department has publicly denied the president's own lines were wiretapped. As you'll recall, he tweeted out months ago that President Obama had his wires tapped. The Justice Department has come out and said that's not true. But what is possible, Don, is that he was picked up on the Manafort surveillance. And we should note that Manafort does have a residence in Trump Tower.
So now they're trying to cover up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got some of the biggest crow eating going on by the fake news combine over at PolitiFact, over at CNN, over at the New York Times, Turns out Trump Tower was wiretapped like a Christmas tree. And specifically who he said was being wiretapped, Paul Manafort. In his conversations with Roger Stone and the president. Just like we told you back in January of this year. And it was all illegal. It was all done politically by the Obama/Clinton Democratic Party Loretta Lynch meeting on the tarmac crime syndicate. Oh, look, CNN's giving us the exclusive last night. Let's put it back up on screen for TV viewers. Exclusive. U.S. government wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman. We probably wrote 50 articles about that back at the time, just because it was so flagrant how mainstream media was specifically lying when a month before they were in every paper, every TV show going, we've got NSA wiretaps, we got Justice Department wiretaps, we got Trump getting money from the Russians, we got them with foreign banks, we've got them totally controlled, we've got wiretaps on Stone, we've got wiretaps on Manafort. In the January 20th article in the New York Times, because I was in D.C. for the inauguration that morning, reading it over coffee, and I interviewed Stone at the inauguration about it, live. And it said, we've got wiretaps with Stone getting money and being directed by the Russians. Later it came out, ladies and gentlemen, they had zero. Just like the Comey memo had nothing in it, he claimed. Trump didn't do any of the things he said. And Comey then told Congress there was nothing in it. But then later told the New York Times when he leaked it that there was stuff there. Then he went back to Congress again and said that Trump basically was trying to obstruct. He's all over the map. So now CNN has been forced to come out and just halfway let it slide out that, okay, Trump was right because Manafort did have an apartment in Trump Tower in New York. And he was being wiretapped because they're getting ready to try to use those wiretaps in the indictment of Manafort. I learned 2 days ago that Manafort's lawyers talked to our sources and said, indeed, Manafort has been told, you are indicted. Not what we're seeing in the news today that Mueller intends to indict, but he has to do that through a grand jury. He's not judge, jury, and executioner, but it's a Swamp Thing, District of Criminals creation. I mean, the jury's made up of alligators, crocodiles, boa constrictors, and other creatures. And there they are, a thoroughbred swamp federal grand jury directly out of the District of Criminals, hand-picked. And so now they've got their evidence of Manafort, and it's nothing to do with Russians. Supposedly they found business dealings going back a decade ago that maybe didn't get declared on the right forms because he had some offshore bank accounts, which all the globalists have and which they say are legal. But if they find any of your forms filled out wrong, just like your IRS form says, penalty of perjury, you make a $1 mistake. Federal law says 7 years in the federal pen, you'll serve 6.5. 7 years in the federal pen, you get one number wrong, and you waive your rights to the Fourth Amendment, you waive your rights to a jury, you waive your rights when you sign that IRS form. So that's where they're going, and they've told him. You burn Trump and make up stuff and start singing like a canary, or we're going to throw you in prison, and we're going to chain you up in the back of a federal vehicle, and we're going to diesel you until your toes pop, until your hind end comes out. You got hemorrhoids bigger than hot dogs. That's what they do. They've already told him, we're going to torture you. You're basically dead if you don't start lying right now. That's our loving FBI under the Clinton crime wave. That's these thugs that are openly censoring the internet and openly going after everybody. Then they can push the country and everybody else around forever. When they're so corrupt, when they're so out of control, they're dirtier than Satan's forked tail. They're dirtier than, while I'm into gross analogies, the Satan's rear end. And then they sit there and they look at Trump and all his associates and all the renters and all the golf club members are all being told, you're under criminal investigation, hoping they dump their memberships, trying to ruin Trump financially, stalking, terrorism, harassment. And I get to enjoy it all myself as well. Doesn't intimidate me. It makes me know this is war. So again, why are we attacked? Why are we demonized? Why are we hated? Because we're real. And it's true. InfoWars, Drudge Report, and Breitbart were all put on Trump's desk. And all Breitbart, InfoWars, and Drudge did was link to pundits, Pelosi, Waters, others before January of this year when they were all going, we got the wiretaps, we got the proof. Putin tells him everything. Putin tells him drain the swamp. Putin told him the word crooked Hillary. They just made up. Oh, let me get my call right now. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, yes, Putin. Call it InfoWars? Oh, okay. Hillary for president 2016. Thanks for the idea. Because, you know, I have to read off teleprompters. I'm not an original person. I got to have Vladimir Putin tell, yes, sir, I'll get it done right now. So they're all saying they did this. Then we call their bluff. There's nothing in any of these communiques. So now they're having to come out and say, okay, it's true. We were spying on Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, we broke, via Sheriff Arpaio's operation, a data dump that was brought to the feds and ignored, where Obama for 8 years was spying on everything Donald Trump did. They knew he was planning to run for president. They knew he was a closet conservative patriot. They knew he was a populist. And guess who else is in there? There's thousands of names. Alex Jones. And when I looked at it, it was my old private number I had at my last office. They even had that listed on there. Of what was being surveilled 24 hours a day if agents wanted to then, of any agency, go into the file and listen to everything I'd done. They had my cell phone, my backup phone, my wife's phone, my office phone that I never even used except for radio interviews. They had Trump's private numbers. I had the Mar-a-Lago number to his private apartment, would never even dare call it. Never even called it. Even though I'd gotten a call off of it and asked Roger, what's this number? That's his private apartment, buddy. Nobody gets that. I'm reading the NSA deal. There's his number to his private apartment. He doesn't have the whole Mar-a-Lago area. He's just got like a 3-bedroom apartment. This is the type of garbage that we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. That article's up on Infowars.com. NSA documents prove surveillance of Donald Trump and his family. Remember, James Comey lied to Congress and said, that's ridiculous. That's crazy, he said. That's when Trump decided to fire him, by the way. He laughed at Trump and said, I'm going to play the clip. That's crazy. That's crazy that anybody spied on Trump ever. And then through the campaign, through the last days, remember Obama was in the news saying, we're not going to let him get away with it. We're giving all the secret data to the news and to others, and we're putting in a 5th column in government to block him. They admitted their whole plan before they left. They set up law firms to sue everybody. They're suing Cernovich. They're suing Roger Stone. Oh, yeah, new stuff with Cernovich we'll tell you about. They're coming after everybody because they're thugs, and they know they're thugs, and they know they're dirtbag scum. And finally, people are calling their bluff high noon out in the square politically. So here's CNN, forced to admit Trump may have been right about being wiretapped. They have the big world exclusive CNN reported it a year ago. And it was true. Then they think we have no memory months later and say we're crazy. Here's the clip.
The Justice Department has publicly denied the president's own lines were wiretapped. As you'll recall, he tweeted out months ago that President Obama had his wires tapped. The Justice Department has come out and said that's not true. But what is possible, Don, is that he was picked up on the Manafort surveillance. And we should note that Manafort does have a residence in Trump Tower.
Okay, so there you go. And then now they're admitting it. And all right, there was some wiretapping. And the NSA was spying as well. And basically, everybody was spying on him. Now, let's go to the next clip here. Just as a memory hole, this is back in March. CNN, New York Times blame Alex Jones for Trump wiretap claims. So, see, memory hole. we're going back, what Gruber hates, the guy that wrote Obamacare, he said, thank God you're dumb, thank God you have no memory. Well, I know you're not dumb and you do have a memory, but we're going to bring back the clip for everybody. And there's a bunch of these clips of them saying, we're insane. The New York Times never reported this, even though they did. And you can read their articles. But again, they hope you don't go back and look at the article. They don't show the article. They think you're stupid. They're betting everything on you being a moron. And they've been proven to be big, fat liars yet again. Here it is.
What do you make of the White House citing your article as part of the evidence?
I mean, it's getting bizarre at this point because we've said it very clearly, and I said on your show, that that's not what the story said. Anybody can read the story and see that's not what it said. And so there's this bizarre circular thing happening where the president cites a theory that he was wiretapped, which developed on the kind of fringe right-wing media.
Yeah, fringe right-wing media. There's the New York Times. Right there.
And after his tweet storm, InfoWars then started saying, well, look, it was the New York Times that reported it, citing our story, misreading our story. And now, a few weeks later, the White House and the president are citing InfoWars. So they've got one kind of bizarre right-wing fringe theory to defend another bizarre right-wing fringe theory, both of which there's no evidence to support.
And just to be clear here, there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's absolutely nothing whatsoever in your reporting in the New York Times that indicates President Obama wiretapped or ordered wiretapping of then candidate Trump, correct?
Nothing. I mean, if we knew that, that is a fantastic story. That we would be rushing it. I would not be sitting here with you. I'd be at home writing it or out reporting it. We said that there were intercepted communications.
You said there were intercepted communications. That was on the NSA end, and that was illegal as well. And Clapper, the former head of all intelligence, who got up in front of Congress years ago and said no one in the U.S. has ever been spied on by the NSA. That's like saying no fish has ever swam in a lake or ocean or creek. Fish live in the sky, and pigs live on the moon, and ostriches live on the sun, and Hillary Clinton's a beautiful woman and not corrupt, and James Comey's a great guy too, and the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus are real. So there you go. It's just simply amazing that they now come out and go, yeah, we're getting ready to indict Manafort. And behind the scenes, I just say, you are indicted. You make stuff up or we're going to torture you to death, basically. And this is just some random group set up by Hillary and Obama with Mueller just running around foaming at the mouth, totally corrupt, and all of Hillary's legions of crimes, nothing's done about it. But boy, if we can find a wart on Manafort's elbow, we are going to just absolutely throw him to the wolves until he makes something up, but then he won't. See, that's how that works. That's why you guys are up the creek so far and everybody sees what a pack of lying, arrogant con men you are. You look at that New York Times reporter, and you look at that CIA operative, and by the way, both of them are CIA. You look at these slimebag, blue blood elitists, coastal elites, preying on the audience, thinking they're idiots. They don't have an audience of idiots. They have an audience of fellow travelers who are mental patients and feel like they're part of this leftist takeover and who want the talking points to go out and repeat them. I mean, let CNN know something. Your own viewers, by and large, aren't even conned anymore. They're just on board with you. We go out and ask folks, and they go, well, we're moving on from the Russia narrative, the racism narrative, and then we're going to go back to the other narrative later. And they know it's all bull. Liberals know conservatives and constitutionalists and Christians are very moral and are anti-racist on average. That's why they hit us with it all day, because they know it's not true. They've all got borderline personality disorder, basically, where they project onto you what they are. And I finally understand that going out to all these rallies, mainline Democrat rallies. They are conscious scum. They know they're liars. They know capitalism works. They don't care. They want to wreck stuff and run it. To a man, they're either smug, inbred, elitist, sociopaths, psychopaths, or they're just ugly people. It's true. They're ugly, and they love misery, and misery loves company. That's it. Just once you understand that, it all makes sense. They're bad people. They're race baiters. They're racist. They use race to control. I've got a clip coming up of one of the top pediatric vaccine controllers in the state at a World UN meeting in Houston saying, we're going to make the public totally submit to vaccines. And she goes, the problem's white people, and we need to kill all the white people. And everybody sits there and nods their head, and they're all white. You're like this, and I keep telling you, it's weird cults of white people. I've got Green Party Germany, Green Party UK saying soon all the whites will be gone. I've got all the UN saying it. I mean, this is a weird group of people, man. This is some whacked out stuff. And it's true. Anglo-Saxons and Western Europeans have always fought tyranny and have never been able to be conquered by the Romans or anybody else. And there's just something about us, and they don't like it. And it's white people that know that. It's a white superclass of controllers and the wannabe minions that sit around talking about, don't worry, we're brain damaging all the third world. And we're going to get the whites in the end. We may have to kill every stinking one of them. They're all sitting there nodding their heads. Because I told you, they get these doctors in these training meetings. We've got the training manuals. They say, yes, vaccines kill large numbers. They cause brain damage. They cause type 1 diabetes. They cause it all. But we've got to cover it up because it's part of the greater science and the greater good. But the statistics show it's not. And they know the vaccines are dirty, and they know the vaccine makers have protection, and they're paid to do it, and it's eugenics, and they know what they're doing. And she says, I'm proud to be a minority white person in Houston, and I'm proud of the diversity, and it's time to kill all the white people. The video's on Infowars.com. I'm not exaggerating. You see, they're coming out, folks. Every day I've got professors saying genocide all the whites. Every day it's a total plan. I told you in Endgame, the eugenicists target who they believe is their #1 threat. And they believe Western culture and European ethos is the threat. It's really whacked out. And you go, yeah, but they're almost all white. That's the thing. It's total eugenics. They want to wipe everybody out. They talk about how good the minorities are and how they want their shots. No, they don't. Then she lies and says, oh, and there's less infectious disease in Mexico than there is here. I mean, it's really whacked out. But the Mexicans, they love their shots. Oh, all the little girls get their Gardasil shot. On the insert says can sterilize you. I don't care if you're Hispanic, white, polka dotted. I care about you and love you because I got empathy, and we're going to win together, and these people are going to fail. We're getting their number. We're figuring out who they are. They're so evil, it's hard to comprehend. I understand. But once you just realize they're total evil and study them, it just gets more fantastic. I've got them also at one of the same conferences saying blacks have bad gene pools and so do Hispanics and have to be exterminated with vaccines. They actually say it on tape. That's an Endgame. It's just like, what the hell? They just want to kill everybody. I mean, you got that? Now, she said she wants to kill all the white people. I'm going to play the clip. But since I mentioned all this, when we come back, Hillary won't rule out overturning the 2016 election. That's a new video. I told you that's coming. She's also demonizing me. Coming out saying that it's unbalanced, that there's too much InfoWars, and that mainstream media needs more money and more investment. They've got all of Hollywood, all the MSM, all the major comedians, all the news channels, all of it, and they're saying InfoWars is dangerous and that she needs more funding and we need to invest because they're outnumbered. What, by the truth? By memory? Dirtbag? That I remember who you are, I know what you've done, I know what you stand for, I understand your operation, and you can't stand it? And we've got more on the bombshell, folks. And as libertarians and patriots and conservatives and Christians, we don't like to brag, but it isn't bragging. It's an info war. We were right about the wiretapping. We were right about the whole thing. They now have to admit it because they're getting ready to use it in court. Illegal political wiretapping that makes Nixon look like a choir boy. That's all coming up. And we've got loaded guests today. Massive censorship intensifying. I mean, the war is on. We got Comey lying, saying nobody was being spied on. We got everything. We got Clapper. We got Brennan. We got the Justice Department. We all got a pack of liars that think they're going to defeat America, and they're not, because America's better than you scumbags. You're a big trophy hunter. like these eugenicist racists. You don't want to just mount the black people's head on your wall. You want to mount the white people's heads on the wall that are virtuous and aren't like you vampires. Oh, we're going to get you. I know we are. Ooh, make me angry. Oh, boy, I tell you, we're going to break their will. You're not breaking our will. They can feel our will. That's why they're scared right now. You will never break my will. You will never break my will. Never. Yeah. Yeah. Ah. Now, it's about to sell out. The good news is we get more in next month. Caveman, ultimate paleo formula, total meal replacement, chaga mushroom, the concentrated organic turmeric, bee pollen, so much more with the concentrated bone broth. Try it for yourself in chocolate and strawberry. They're both about to sell out. 50% off. I'm still keeping it at that. InfoWarsLife.com. We need your support now. Commit and fund us. We're on the march. Ah, yes. Yes. Yes, Hillary. Feel my dark heart. It's the opposite of that, isn't it? We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. And when I tell you that Mueller is engaged in criminal activities, even CNN, even the New York Times, even the Washington Post, even Fox News is asking the question whether Special Counsel Robert Mueller's aggressive tactics are appropriate. I've got that on screen right now from Fox News, if you're a radio listener. They broke in Manafort's house with a SWAT team, even though he'd already given the committee, they admitted, everything they asked for. They took out all his clothes, his underwear, his Italian suits. Nobody knows this. Roger Stone's basically best friends with him. I don't know, Andrew Napolitano might be his best friend. And then there's Manafort, then there's Trump. But, and boy, do they fight to keep Trump from calling Roger, but they've not been successful so far. I'll just leave it at that. And they're flipping out over it. And they went through all his underwear, all his shirts. They took photographs of his wife's things. Everything in the house was photographed. Everything. Because if they could find one gift or something that somebody gave them, even if it's $10, but that wasn't put on an IRS form, they're going to take him and drive him around in an 18-wheeler prisoner transfer vehicle until his feet burst. It's called dieseling. They drive you 18 hours every day, take you off for 6 hours, and then continue the torture. They do that to congressmen and other folks like Congressman Hansen. It's a special treatment they get. That's why Congress is so scared. It's why people are so scared, is they have special units that carry out the torture. And they've told him, we're going to torture you if you don't lie about Trump. And Manafort has not lied about Trump. And so Mueller, with using just total criminal activities, admittedly, search warrant said you can find bank statements and emails and anything related to the election going back 4 years, even though the election wasn't going back that far. Doesn't matter. Everything in the house was there. They came in with machine guns, cussed at them, pushed them to the ground, sent a real nasty team of liberal communists in. They have special hand-picked teams, of course, under the Clintons and under Obama, just to shake him up. And now there's the threats. You can go scot-free right now, but you give us the goods. And what are the goods, may I ask? Donald Trump is a communist and got all his money from the Russians, and you were financed by the Russians. And Manafort's like, that's preposterous. I've been working for the U.S. government all along, putting in pro-America regimes all over the world, and you know that. It's just like some of the other people they've been putting on the news, and it turns out they're CIA. They're like, you were in Russia in 1990 to 1993. Yeah, for the CIA, keeping Yeltsin in power. And they go, oh, well, I mean, still, we think you were a Russian double agent. What? So that's the level of nasty lying that's going on. I happen to do my homework. I happen to have my sources. And that's why they hate us. Is because Pew Research, George Washington Mason University, now Harvard and Yale, came out and said in the 2014 election, 5.7 million illegals voted in the names of dead people. They just ran the names of dead people from the previous decade who were on voting rolls and then confirmed it was either illegals or people just voting illegally. And then now the Democrats are all over the country legalizing it in sanctuary cities for illegals to vote. They got, what, 15 cities in California, 9 in Illinois, 7 in Maryland, as of last week. And now it's a domino. So yes, I covered Pew Research, put an article out, Drudge linked to it, Trump saw it, Trump retweeted it, and they go, oh, you're getting your info from Alex Jones. Your info from me, yes, studied, focused, dedicated. But 99% of our information comes directly from documents or credible news articles or sources. And now we know it wasn't 3.5 like Trump thought. That was 2014. The numbers just came out from a Harvard study, and it was over 7 million are projected to have voted in 2016 illegally. Well, we have 3 of the top Democrats on video saying, we're going to steal this effing election, screw the public, we're going in, we got each person voting 10 times, nothing can stop us. I mean, they're on the news saying, Obama said go out and vote as many times as you can. Told illegals it's part of your duty to go vote. That's what they're doing. Then they look at us and say, we don't have any illegals voting. That's insane. It's just mind-blowing. So we're here studying things. We're here trying to tell the truth and doing a darn good job of it. The globalists, on the other hand, they don't know what to do because they've lied and lied and lied and it's not working. So now they're beyond doubling down. They're becoming nothing but disruptive. CNN knows you hate them. The New York Times knows you hate them. They know the only people reading them are people that know it's a lie and are fellow travelers with the fraud and want talking points to go out and beat people over the head. But they know that doesn't work. So now they go, you're a Nazi, you're a white supremacist, you're all these things you aren't, to try to beat you over the head. And the next, you're going to lose your job. You're not going to get your pension. You're not going to get a college tuition. You're not going to get a grant. And people go, man, that bullying is really, really obvious. What are we going to do? And they say, well, we'll just totally normalize it. You see, you hit a point in tyranny when it just comes out in the open. They can't hide it anymore. And they go, you know what? We are thugs. We're going to break your legs if you don't do what we say. And at that point, I say, good, let's go. Because if I do what the thugs say today, what, you want my wife? You want my kids? You want my blood? You want me to bow down and lick your boots? Because that's really what you want, isn't it? Because you're scumbags. No real man would want people to lick their boots and to live like that. But you scum, you do. And you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing the wrong people. You think all your censorship and all your garbage is making us go away? All it's doing is making everybody get 10 times more hardcore. And we're kicking your butt politically, intellectually, culturally, economically, and spiritually. I'm going to get to Hillary Clinton in a moment. This is incredible revelations. I told you they're planning to overthrow the election, and she said it. When they get these fake indictments out of this swamp grand jury that they've already said they've got, they are going to declare, oh my gosh, Trump's removed or Trump died or whatever the case is, because he's a symbol. Even if he tries to sell out, which he isn't doing, they're going to destroy him because they've got to destroy that image. They've got to overturn the election, hold new emergency elections, have Homeland Security run it. They've already announced it. All 50 attorney generals say that's unconstitutional, including Democrats. That's crazy. They're going to take control of the election and then have a new one. Do you ever think we're going to have a fair election again? This is for all the marbles. But the good news is they're captained by a bunch of weirdos like the Podestas and a crazy witch with a big old brain tumor hanging on to life via sheer will. And her billion-dollar doctors, just like Dick Cheney holds on. Nobody's ever lived more than a year and a half of one of those artificial hearts that's on the outside of the body. Cheney lived almost 2. He's tough. You talk about dark energy will, they got it. They got it. Hillary Clinton's had more surgeries than Darth Vader. She gets them all the time. But our will's stronger than their will. Not because we can hang on to life for ourselves. We're willing to give up our life for everybody else. Because let me tell you, we're not going to live under you trash anymore. We're done. We're not offering some utopia. We don't have all the answers. But we know you're not what we want to be. We sure know that, don't we? Yeah, we do. So, if you just joined us, I want to recap some of these clips and get into the other clips I haven't covered, but I want to congruently put them all together right now. Here it is. CNN forced to admit Trump may have been right about being wiretapped. Now, that's how they let it out on TV. In the news, they're going, all right, the Justice Department was spying on all of Trump's associates in a Russia investigation directed by Obama. We know there was an investigation. It was over the Democrats, too. Jay Johnson tried to get in 21 times into Democrat computers. That's where it was really going on. And Podesta didn't know what to do because it was all coming home to roost, and they were on them. Because there were a lot of lawyers in the Justice Department and people that weren't going to be part of a total sellout with her criminal server to the Russians and the Chinese and everybody else. Because it was going on. So, Podesta literally just dreamed the whole thing up, John Podesta, to turn it around and put it on the Republicans and the conservatives and the libertarians who've never been involved with foreign powers and who've never sold the country out. Say what you want. It's the Democrats that are known for being knee-deep with the Russians. And I'm not going to list all the stuff Podesta or Hillary did, and the $100 million from the banks, the $35 million for the uranium, and Hillary in secret meetings with Putin not once but 3 times, and her talking about how sexy he was and how powerful he was. I mean, these people are so grasping. That's one thing. Whoever's bigger and more powerful than them, who can actually get stuff done, they really admire. It's sick. Because you look at Putin, he's the opposite of Hillary. He's actually substantive, he's there, he's smart, he's hardworking, he's focused, he does what he says he'll do. With Hillary, it's a total black hole of evil. Just like Megyn Kelly telling me about Putin was all getting excited about him when we were having dinner. And I was like, wow, you're really into him. She goes, oh, he's intriguing, sort of wiggling around in her seat, getting all sexually excited. I mean, it's crazy how these witches are into this. So, let's go over the clip. CNN forced to admit Trump may have been right about being wiretapped. Here it is.
The Justice Department has publicly denied the president's own lines were wiretapped. As you'll recall, he tweeted out months ago that President Obama had his wires tapped. The Justice Department has come out and said that's not true. But what is possible, Don, is that he was picked up on the Manafort surveillance. And we should note that Manafort does have a residence in Trump Tower.
So what we always said is they were spying on his campaign head and on the campaign. So now they're trying to spin it. Oh, I guess it was, but it was only Manafort. No, it was all of them. And we know that because the media reported it beforehand because they were planning to use it. But because it was illegally done, they tried to pull back so they can now try to sneak it back into view because they've decided with Mueller, who's such a raging criminal, that they can get away with this. Well, the word is old Comey's about to get indicted because he's been caught perjuring himself, lying to Congress. He's been caught holding back national security information, caught perjuring himself about that, been caught leaking information illegally. That's the big one. Just open and shut, Comey. We got to get you a special tall jail cell for, 8-foot tall, whatever you are. So let's go to this clip. FBI Director Comey and NSA Director Rogers, no evidence of Trump wiretapping claim. And, of course, it was the FBI doing the wiretap for the Justice Department when he was the head of the FBI lying to Congress. Here it is.
Director Comey, was the president's statement that Obama had his wires tapped in Trump Tower a true statement?
With respect to the president's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets, and we have looked carefully inside the FBI. The Department of Justice has asked me to share with you that the answer is the same for the Department of Justice and all its components. The department has no information that supports those tweets.
The president accused Mr. Obama and presumably the FBI of engaging in McCarthyism. As you understand the term McCarthyism, do you think President Obama or the FBI was engaged in such conduct?
I'm not going to try and characterize the tweets themselves. All I can tell you is we have no information that supports them.
Were you engaged in McCarthyism, Director Comey?
try very hard not to engage in any isms of any kind.
Oh, sure.
Including McCarthyism.
He's such a good boy.
President Obama could not unilaterally order a wiretap of anyone.
No president could.
Now, our British allies have called the president's suggestion that they wiretapped him for Obama nonsense and utterly ridiculous. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Does it do damage to our relationship with one of our closest intelligence partners for the president to make a baseless claim that the British participated in a conspiracy against him?
I think it clearly frustrates a key ally of ours.
Certainly wouldn't endear the British intelligence services to continue working with us, would it?
All right, that's enough. Folks, months later they admitted, okay, there was NSA spying, and they do use the foreign intelligence operations to spy on us, and then we spy on them. Then that gets around domestic laws of your own agency spying on you and then using that for political control domestically. That's how that began back during World War II. We'll spy on your people, you'll spy on our people. And it's totally illegal. It's part of the national security state. And that's what this is the big, bloated, corrupt, evil national security state making hundreds of billions of dollars a year off the taxpayers' back to control society and cover up their crimes while they claim they're the big super patriots because they served, you know, the country by spying on you and selling you out to the Chi-Coms. It's sick. Remember, Clapper, the head of all intelligence, said no one has ever spied on Americans. It just has never happened, which they admit was total perjury. Well, he expanded that lie, saying that the NSA was not spying or any other agency on anybody associated with Trump. Here is that whopper of a lie.
There was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign.
Then they show his tweet. Oh, Obama's so bad. James Clapper, Obama's director of national intelligence, appeared on Meet the Press.
If the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes.
You would be told this?
I would know that.
If there was a FISA court order on something like this?
Something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it.
There is no FISA court order?
Not to my knowledge.
Of anything at Trump Tower?
No.
And, of course, we now know there was FISA, and on top of it, there was Justice Department as well, crawling all over Trump. I mean, and he's sitting there on Meet the Press talking to a Politico from the Democratic Party, and the two have all scripted it, and they're lying to the public. Here, in fact, let's play a clip of Clapper saying the NSA never spies on the American people on purpose. And, of course, pigs fly. Here it is. Okay, no big deal. We'll play that clip when we return. When I came in this morning, I got that little juicy lined up because it's amazing to hear Clapper tell the world that there's no spying against the American people, period. And with the same ridiculous level of deception, he sits there and he looks at everybody on the news and says it's not going on, none of it's happening. And now they admit, yes, they had the Justice Department, they had the FBI, they had the NSA, they had the British, they had everybody crawling all over Trump at every single level and running all over Russia trying to find some type of connection. But Donald Trump Jr. goes and meets with one Russian to get dirt on Hillary, and now he's a Russian agent. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Hillary Clinton has been communicating through the different globalist publications like the New Yorker Magazine, Financial Times of London, Council on Foreign Relations, Foreign Affairs, Atlantic Monthly, and other publications for the last 9 months since President Trump's been in office, the last 11 months or so since he won the election. Hard to believe it's already been 10.5 months since that happened. And she said, we're going to overthrow the election. We're going to say everyone that won, including state houses and governorships, are Russian agents. And that we're going to hold new elections for all of these states. There's a total political realignment towards Republicans. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but folks know that's the opposition party. That's the libertarian streak. That's the Tea Party. That's where people have been taking over the Republican Party. That's our best shot. Trump understood that. It's got good American values that aren't ever actually enforced or realized. So they know their days are over. They know they're screwed. They know they're a coastal elite party with their own people turning against them, even immigrants turning against them. People want prosperity. They don't want North Korea or Venezuela or Cuba. So they're in trouble. What do? Go for broke. Overthrow the whole country. Say the Russians are the outside enemy. Your opposition works for the Russians. Use the Justice Department that you control to go after everybody. Well, they lost. So now, because they were already planning to mop things up and get rid of free speech and go after their political opposition as Russians if Hillary won. But now they've got to even get rid of Trump on top of it. So they've got a big, 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 big problem. And they want to overturn the election, Homeland Security under an executive order that Trump hasn't repealed because his advisors don't tell him to, and he's overwhelmed, and he's spoken out against it. But and then all 50 attorney generals have written letters, said whatever you do not, do this. This is unconstitutional, including Democrats, but they don't care. So they're going to overturn the election, kill Trump, imprison Trump, and then overturn the election and then put Democrats back in power everywhere. And then the Republicans will be made a vestigial party only for ceremonial purposes. And the Republican establishment, it appears, is for that because this group will be paid off and be made new royalty during the period. We did find the clip of Clapper I was talking about a few years ago saying there is no spying. Here it is.
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
All right.
And third is the beautiful charm in life. I notice 3 is always the thing of completion for some reason. I'm going to play it with the question here. This will be a great achievement of gravitas on air. Are we ready? Drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen. Here is Clapper saying they don't spy on you.
And he was asked a question about the NSA surveillance of Americans. He replied, and I quote here, "The story that we have millions or hundreds of millions of dossiers on people is completely false." The reason I'm asking the question is, having served on the committee now for a dozen years, I don't really know what a dossier is in this context. So what I wanted to see is if you could give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly.
He also, again, just said that no one spied on Trump. All lies. These are known criminal liars. So I am wound up today. I am angry. I am focused because total vindication, as if we needed it. Our listeners all remember them on the news saying, we spied on Trump. We know Putin's got his arm up his rear end and he's a puppet. We know Pepe the Frog was invented by Putin. We know the Drain the Swamp was invented by Putin. We know Crooked Hillary was invented by, Lock Her Up was, invented by Putin. They actually have said that on CNN and MSNBC as a talking point. As if you couldn't say she's a crooked Hillary. And so this is a big deal that they're having to admit this now. And now you know why they've tried to isolate Trump, why they've tried to keep the crowds away from him, why they tried to keep Breitbart and InfoWars and his own bodyguard of decades, and why they want Bannon out. They keep telling him, Mr. President, we'll get your agenda of tax cuts, and we'll get your agenda of securing the sovereignty of the nation and taking care of the veterans. Just get rid of all the patriots. They're the reason there's leaks, sir. We never leaked any of the stuff that hurt the president. We never released any of it unless the president said, I'm upset about this. Get this out. Fight hard on this. Keep doing what you're doing on this. I'm not going in to Syria to take out Assad. I don't care what other people say. You can bet on it, Alex. And then all these people in the White House, they sit there and they leak all this garbage that isn't even true to hurt the president, and then they terrorize him. And they're saying, fine, I'll isolate this down to me talking to 2 people a day, and we'll see about the leaks. And then they stop the leaks because they want him to think that everything's going to work out that way. And then he catches them when he goes to a campaign event, keeping the head of the Border Patrol sector, who he's friends with. He learns from coming to his event because they've got his cell phone number. Then he yells at Kelly. See, because you can't trust the president to talk to the head of the Border Patrol section. You can't trust them either. And, you know, you got to pull Jack Posobiec's naval intelligence clearance because, you know, the president likes him and tweets his tweets. Yeah, that evil Posobiec, you know, tweeting mainstream news articles about the president being right about illegals voting. Yeah, can't let that young man be in naval intelligence. The president likes him. That's even worse than the Russians. I mean, there's nothing dirtier and nothing worse. And so now they've got the president isolated. I've talked to a couple people that talked to him recently at night, and he was not slurring his words. So maybe he's just been exhausted, or aspartame can make you do that. So he really needs to lay off the Diet Coke. That stuff will make you go blind. You know, the old wives' tales, you know, they tell you playing with yourself makes you go blind. No, aspartame. You know, I was thinking about that today. It's all over mainstream news that aspartame makes you fat. Aspartame makes you get diabetes. Aspartame makes you go blind. That was like in Bloomberg last week. I couldn't believe it. Diet sodas linked to diabetes, blindness, obesity. And I was thinking this weekend, why didn't I make a big victory lap about that? I had brain surgeons and scientists on 20 years ago. It was in the Searle documents in the 70s that they gave it to baby rhesus monkeys in their mother's milk, and it killed about a third of them. Then they changed it around, did some new fake studies in 1980 and got it approved. But that's what I mean. 99% of the time, I'm just telling you what's already admitted. Diet soda may alter our gut microbes and raise the risk of diabetes. Yeah, I didn't even see that one. It was like a Bloomberg one last week that had the headline. Maybe it was AP. It was some big establishment deal. It was diet drinks cause diabetes, make you fat, and lose eyesight or something. It's just like everything we already know. I mean, that's what wood alcohol does. That's what aspartame breaks down into at 87 degrees. We've got a jam-packed global transmission today, now into hour number 2. Got 3 more hours laying out before us. Paul Joseph Watson will join us from London with the latest on the Islamic terror attack. 2 refugees that came into the country and were paid for, didn't have to work, 24/7 welfare, home provided, schooling, everything. So they wanted to go kill some people. We also have Dr. Jerome Corsi, who first got the secret documents about the NSA spying on Trump, and we got it to the president, and he went public. We were totally vindicated on that. He's coming on with Roger Stone, who has obviously talked directly with Manafort's lawyers. We'll just leave it at that, and has the full scoop. It's not just as the Daily Caller is reporting that they've told him that they're going for an indictment. They've told him we have an indictment from the kept kangaroo swamp jury out of the District of Columbia. You cannot make that up. Andrew Torba of Gab starting to challenge Facebook. Well, Google and others are just delisting it and going to the Australian government and others and having the site banned, and it's going to be kicked off its domain register and banned to the public. And the site is pretty mild. It's like Reddit. They do have free speech, though. As long as you don't call for violence, you can be an idiot, black supremacist, or a moron, white supremacist, or whatever you want. They have free speech, you know, like the country's supposed to have. But Google doesn't just run this monopoly. They're now working to have their competition banned. Wow. And Mike Cernovich got a letter from a big Hillary's official law firm saying, we're suing you if you don't stop doing Pepe the Frog videos because our client claims copyright. That's like saying Kermit the Frog's copyright for satire or for anything political. It's totally protected. So we've got that. Jack Posobiec joins us as well. It's going to be absolutely jam-packed coming up. We're going to talk to Mark Gonzalez here in just a moment about some really big, important news. But if you just joined us, you probably noticed that the New York Times, CNN, ABC, they're having to admit, okay, they were tapping Trump Tower and Paul Manafort, like the president said, and there was a foreign NSA tap. So Clapper and Comey and all of them have gone before Congress and lied and said there was no tapping of anybody involved with Trump or his campaign. And CNN's calling in an exclusive. U.S. government wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman. Yes, you told us that before Trump even got elected and when he was president-elect. Then you realized it was illegal, so you said it never happened. But we have all the clips and all the headlines. So just next-level lying, and they think no one has a memory. It's simply incredible. But here's the bigger news. We're going to play this clip coming up after our guest leaves us. Clinton is saying that she's going to overturn the election still and blames me and says InfoWars is too powerful, that there's not enough mainstream media. I'm not joking. All of Hollywood, all the major comedians, all the comedy shows, all the mainstream media, thousands of newspapers, thousands of TV stations, even Fox News is like pro-Hillary now in many cases. All of this, and she says InfoWars, it has too much power. We need to be censored, shut down, and that there needs to be more investment countering us by name. Even though, yeah, during the election, we were reaching, the week of the election, 85 million people. Normally, we reach about 30 million before the election. Now we reach about 40 million. But they've been censoring us and blocking and had some effect dialing it back. But people get the Streisand effect now and are fighting back harder. Now, the reason I wanted to get Mark Gonzalez on is he's a great CEO of Nature Brands. He's not a sponsor. We're not plugging Nature's Brands, even though that's who powers Emmerich's Essentials and the line of toiletries we have. We're about to come out with a very affordable, high-quality essential oils in the next few days, so I should have him back on to do an infomercial on that. But right now, Emmerich's Essentials, we want to introduce it to you, is 50% off, 25% off when you purchase it off retail, and then additional 25% off when you sign up for auto ship. This is something you want to reorder every 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. You can cancel any time. That's InfoWarsStore.com. But I want to have him back up during the week for the essential oils rollout because I know essential oils have a 5 times markup. I just want to do 100 times, 100 times, 100%, 100 times. You had to be like $1,000, whatever. I just want to do basically a 1 markup, not a 7 markup. And that's what they do as well. So we're coming out with private label of their essential oils that blow away the top brands in the country that they sell for 4 or 5 times what we're going to be selling it for. So these are really, 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 really high quality, and they'll be available this week at InfoWarsStore.com. But that is not why Mark Gonzalez is joining us, CEO of one of the top organic brands in the country. His daughter was damaged by vaccines, and I had known that privately, but he's willing to talk about it. So I wanted to play a clip and have him on and have him respond to it today. This story went up on Infowars.com over the weekend. This is one of the head people over the Texas Health Department. She is a medical doctor, Carol J. Baker. She says, we'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States. And, you know, you could say it was a joke. She was not joking. And no one, you know, even really questions her or shakes their head. And then another guy on the board, he virtue signals at this UN World Medicine meeting, okay, held in Houston, International Summit. It's almost all white people for some reason. And she says, well, I'm going to play the clip, that we need to just get rid of the white people because they're the folks aren't compliant. Well, actually, that's not true. It's higher education doesn't take vaccines county by county because people read the insert. And it's the only drug out there, company, that has liability protection. So they always have these fact sheets they give you if you ask for it that say safe and effective. You dig deeper, they go, oh, there's a few adverse reactions. You read the actual insert under law that comes with the vaccine. It says, in any vaccine, may kill you, may brain damage you, may cause narcolepsy, may cause permanent diabetes, type 1, pancreatitis. I mean, I've got the inserts right here for just a few of the vaccines I'm going to go over. So I wanted to raise this because this is the arrogance of these people, and they think it's a virtue signal. She goes, I'm a minority for 20 years in Houston as a white, and I got to say, white people are just bad. So there's this new thing where you're the Green Party of Germany saying, soon we'll get rid of all the white people, whatever. It's trying to make the minorities, who are the majority in most areas, racist. It's not really working. It's always weird white people. And they tell these doctors when they're going through their internship now, yes, vaccines kill people sometimes, but it's for the greater good because it causes so much more good than it does bad. Then they blame whites and Christians for not taking vaccines on average and say, we're going to get everybody else sick. But if you've already had it, you're supposedly protected, I thought. So the truth is vaccines are spreading disease. It's not that I don't believe in the science. I don't believe in big pharma caught doing medical experiments, caught doing sterilants in the vaccines, you name it, cancer viruses. Look it up, SV40 and more. My grandmother was told she got polio the second shot she got for a new strain, live polio. They said, Ms. Hammond, you got polio. She just died this year. She couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair the rest of her life since my mom was 5 years old. They told her, Miss Hammond, you got polio from the vaccine. Her doctor told her back in the 1950s. So here is Carol J. Baker. Then we're going to our guest, Carol J. Baker, just throwing it in your face that white people are the devil. And, she's just another elitist, wannabe establishment person who gets off on the health departments being founded by the eugenics boards and by the Rockefeller foundations here in the United States at the turn of the last century. And so it's this same mentality has been passed down, the forced sterilizations, all of it. This is raw, forcing you to take a product that has liability protection, then lying to you about what's in it. And she talks about how they're bullying the public and how the minorities are bending over, but the evil white people aren't. Here it is.
I'm complaining because the average pediatrician or internist has 10 minutes for a visit, and you want to have them go get media trained? Excuse me.
Some, not everywhere.
The fight, the battle is being fought. One family, one physician, one health center. That's why we're doing as well as we are. We're talking about the minority and strategies against the minority. So I have the solution. Every study published in the last 5 years, when you look at vaccine refusers, I'm not talking about, hesitants, most of them we can talk into coming to terms, but refusers. We'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States because Houston is the most diverse city in the entire United States. There's 7 Asian languages spoken in that city. I've been a minority for more than 20 years in the city of Houston. The majority is, we call Hispanic. That is not a race or an ethnicity, that is a political designation. But a lot of them are from Central, South America, Mexico. Guess who wants to get vaccinated the most? Immigrants.
That's what made Donald Trump's comment about bringing disease here so funny. They're at risk when they come here.
Immigrants.
Better vaccination rates in Mexico.
It is the well-educated, in terms of pieces of paper that they put on their wall, people that have been here a long time, and it's very unfortunate. But I think we need not lose the big picture.
Yeah, the big picture. She goes, we have strategies against the minority that mainly white people are highly educated don't take it because, we read it. And by the way, they tell the illegals, you take this at the school or you're going to be deported. So they take a population like them, they bully them, and they know what they're doing. So we're going to break, sir. I apologize it took me so long to build up to this, but Mark from naturesbrands.com, thanks for coming on to talk about what happened to you and your family.
Yeah, so they want to take the vaccines, or are they being manipulated with the propaganda from the industry to think that they should be taking the vaccines? That's really what it comes down to. I don't know where it ends, Alex, but you have one of your contributors, John Rappaport. I read his blog every day. He's incredible. I don't know if you saw what he wrote last week, but in America, we now have over 4 billion prescriptions written by doctors every year. That's 13 prescriptions per man, woman, and child, and I guess illegal immigrants as well.
All right, Mark, the CEO of Nature Brands, stay there. We're going to come back and talk about your personal experience with vaccines. Now, folks, if you don't know how frustrated I am, I have loaded guests, and I want to have my guest on for 10 hours on vaccines. But if you're a TV viewer and you're watching right now, here's the chickenpox vaccine from Merck & Co., the actual insert that comes with the injection bottle. They try to hide this from me, but under law, they've got to do it. It says impairment of fertility. And then it goes on to say it could cause cancer or sterilize you. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. And it just goes on to talk about all the things it can do to you, the chickenpox vaccine, Rise syndrome. Yeah, it's not really aspirin that's killing kids most of the time. It's the vaccine. And autoimmune disorders, death. And it goes into talking about 18 people out of 100,000, you know, will basically have brain damage. I mean, this is like Russian roulette. And this is just in their studies. Here's the polio virus vaccine. It admits it can give you polio-like effects. I mean, I've got to go back to my guess. It's just rude to have Mira Nunn
Hey,
get into
Alex,
this. Yes, dude.
I just want to say one thing. On that chickenpox vaccine, it says diploid cells. That is actually aborted baby fetal cells.
That's what they use to make it.
Yeah, that's what they use to make
and
it.
And it says it can cause mutations in your baby.
Oh, yeah.
Don't take it.
Well, and they say
here's one, Guillain-Barré's. Here's the influenza. Paralyzed, yeah. Guillain-Barré's, death, cancer.
We can do
another
a whole
one here.
hour on this.
I've got MMR. Here's the MMR.
Reactions.
Here's the MMR right here where it says, I got to go to the guest. Let's just shoot a video on this afternoon.
Sounds good.
I know it makes you upset. Here it says it can give you type 1 diabetes here. That's the Merck shot right here. Type 1 diabetes. I'm sorry, the CEO of Nature's Brands, whose daughter got hurt by vaccines, Mark Gonzalez. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, Alex, people don't know what they don't know. And the companies bank on this. They bank on that. So we have to continue to provide the education. We're up against a pretty formidable machine, but that's why you and I can get so fired up about this. Last time I was on with you, one of my colleagues in the office said, "Gee, Mark, you seem kind of angry." You're darn too when I'm angry. Where does it end? I just don't get it. I really don't get it. You know, go back to the chemicals. Look what we're doing. We use, I think it's 42 billion pounds of chemicals a day in American industry. Think about that. That's 623,000 truckloads. 623,000 trucks a day. Imagine if you saw them going by. Maybe you'd finally stop and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe these chemicals are not so good for me. And, you know, a toxologist would tell you that it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 when you have multiple chemicals in a product, including vaccines. It becomes much more synergistic than that. It becomes a multiplier. So, hey, I just hope that people will start to do some homework on these things. I heard from people all over the world when I was on with you last time, Alex. And one of them asked, "Gee, Mark, you know, what really kind of started you down the process? I understand about your daughter and so on." I said, well, it was really interesting. I started getting more curious about where we were going. So I picked up another copy of 1984, which I had read way before 1984. At the time that I first read George Orwell's 1984, it was before 1984. It seemed like such a distant timeline. And now, look, what were you, 33 years in the back in the rearview mirror now, but I read George Orwell, 1984, and then my daughter happened to bring home this book. It was a book from her high school, Fahrenheit 451. Then I read Brave New World, and I read them back to back to back. Every American should do that. They'll wake up if they read. Of course, I know reading's not popular. It's being systematically taken out of our educational system, but think about it. Which order would you read those books in, Alex?
I know this. It's really a brave new world. They're genetically engineering us. They admit they are. They write white papers on it. They know the vaccines are being designed to manipulate our genetics, to change our brains. Bill Gates is coming out with nanotech vaccines they're going to put in the food so you can't escape it. It's social control. And we know with all the secret experimentation that's been declassified, of course it's still going on. It's going on more than ever, and we've got to have a debate about it.
And what about the Nuremberg Code? Where does this fit in, Alex?
Exactly. They're doing secret experimentation or unwitting experimentation on the population.
Exactly. And we're the ones that are supposed to feel bad if we're refusers. If we're refusers, according to that article and that woman that was on there, the Janet Reno lookalike.
Well, I'm wanting to start a weekly health show that we could tape during the week or do live on the weekend. I think you and John Rappaport should do a show together. Since you were just talking about.
I'll tell you what, my wife and I used to do a radio show in Atlanta called The Food Conspiracy. And, you know, you talked about aborted fetuses. There's a company called Sonomics, Sonomics, I believe it's called, in San Diego, that were using this fetal tissue to create flavoring profiles.
I remember Pepsi. Come back. I want to talk more about that. And then we've got Roger Stone with the big breaking news on the upcoming indictment of Manafort because he won't lie about Trump by Mueller, the criminal. Well, there's probably 10 big national brands of high quality, respected, organic toiletries sunscreen, you name it, bug spray, shampoo, body wash. The list goes on and on, essential oils. And most of those companies are politically correct, and they're scared to work with us. That's why it took us years to then finally contact Nature's Brands, which is one of the top 3 you see in major stores, super high quality and affordable, and to then get them to let us private label. And then I began to realize, wait a minute, Mark Gonzalez, I know that he's hosted shows before. He's aware. He's their CEO. He's a patriot. He really woke up after his daughter got hurt real bad by vaccines. That's why Trump's awake to vaccines, because Barron got hurt pretty bad, reportedly, from folks I've talked to. He's bounced back, thank God. But this will wake you up. So he was getting into the fetal tissue used in the flavor testing. He was getting into the vaccines. I mean, I was showing some of the inserts here where it says a mother shouldn't take vaccines and breastfeed. The actual inserts from the scientists say that. They're telling you, hey, this can kill you. This can give you cancer. This Gardasil's linked to lowering fertility. This Gardasil's experimental. But they won't say it on the news. They go, they're liars. Now, we're going to go to Roger Stone and others on the huge breaking news with the confirmation that they've been spying on Trump and his entire entourage or Trump land, just as the president said. It's totally illegal. This is their Waterloo. Comey's very close to being indicted. Trump needs to move before the fake rubber chicken kangaroo court indictment of a gallery of alligators out of the District of Columbia swamp. And the word is the indictment's already done. The jury is just a rubber stamp. Manafort's been told, you start making stuff up about Trump, we're not just going to put you in prison. We're going to torture you real good with some dieseling. So that's all coming up. Huge developments. Hillary says she intends to overturn the election. We told you that was coming. So they're moving right now. They're making their move right now. But Mark Gonzalez of Nature's Brands putting a plug in here. And just finishing up, we carry 6 of the 40-plus products or more that you guys have under Emmerich's Essentials banner. We're already very affordable in stores. We're 25% less on average than what it is in stores. People sign up for auto ship, an additional 25% off, which almost makes these a loss leader. But I want people to experience, I was already using your products because they're the best organic and low price, very affordable, previously because they're so respected. So it's great to be involved with Nature's Brands where you're the CEO. Let's talk about Emmerich's Essentials, the private label. We're going to roll out essential oils ready later in the week. Let's talk about knowing what's happening in the corrupt industry versus the moral stuff you're doing.
Well, thanks, Alex. The reality of it is you have to start to read the labels. And when you see things on a label that you cannot pronounce, it's probably not good for you. And when you see them over and over and over again on the label, then you're just compounding the problem. These products are affordable. You know, I remember as a kid, I think it was for Fram oil filters. The guy would come on the screen and, they'd be doing a major engine job and he would put the Fram oil filter on there and he would say, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. And that's where we are with what's going on in the toxic environment we live in. Toxins in our body is one of the major contributors to disease. You've got toxins, you've got nutritional deficiencies, you've got the electromagnetic chaos, the stress, emotional and mental stress. These are the contributors to illness and disease. You got to take care of the toxins. This is one area you need to pay attention to, in my opinion. I really hope that you would. And I realize the hardest mind to change is a mind that's made up, Alex. The propaganda from the chemical companies is awesome. They're using the same defense that the big tobacco guys used, right? The 4-dog defense. Maybe when we're on together next, we can get into that 4-dog defense. People need to know, because once they understand how this 4-dog defense unfolds, their radar will be up and they won't be fooled as much.
And again, we have the CDC in 2000. Even ABC News did their job back then. They're so fake now. Before, they told the truth sometimes. But I guess they got sued into submission by industry. But they got the documents where they were saying, this brain damage, millions. We've got to stop giving this to our grandchildren, and we've got to clean this up. But there'll be a big public outcry and massive lawsuits. And so it just got covered up by doubling down and saying, we're not going to mandate 30 shots. We're going to mandate 50 shots. And it's the same thing with psychotropics. It was just in the news last week Major studies, 33% increase in early death when you take a psychotropic drug for more than 1 year. Psychotropics are in the hallucinogen class. I mean, they literally eat your brain, and people wonder what's going on here. This is incredible.
Alex, when it comes to the psychotropics, it's taking a lot of our young people from us. You look at all of these mass shootings, look at all of the SSRIs that are pointing back to the perpetrators. I don't know when we're going to get outraged, but I really hope that with every broadcast, we touch a few more minds and we're able to at least get them curious. If we can get them curious, companies like us will grow. You know, big now equals bad. Big government, big business, big chemicals, big pharma, big medical, big banking. If it's big, it's bad by definition. I hope the viewers start to go to the smaller companies that have the right intentions, the right motives. We'd love to feel that Nature's Brands is one of those companies. We've been doing it for 22 years, way before people started thinking about organic and chemical-free, and the calls started coming in with greater velocity. Hey, I've got to do something about this. I'm chemical intolerant. Well, yeah, we can help with that for sure. And we help a lot of people now that have discovered their intolerance to all these chemicals.
And you've got a great point. We need local, we need organic. When I say big, you're still a small company in the scheme of things, but you're one of the respected organic brands that the, organic Nazis, people that really study it, like the soup Nazis and Seinfeld. I mean, Nature's Brand was something I was already using before we were able to partner with you with Emmerich's Essentials, and that's why we're so blessed. We're going to talk to you again on Thursday when we break down these issues and more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you. What an amazing guy, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go to Roger Stone and others here in a second. But, I mean, I did a 30-second plug last hour. So that was 90% informational, 10% plug, because we've got to fund our operation. And if you knew or did the research on what the additives in shampoo do, or what the so-called additives in soap do, they're not soap, they're not shampoo. When you get Emmerich's Essentials, soap, or body wash, or shampoo, or the other products, you're getting something that has 8 or 9 ingredients in it that are totally organic and certified organic for less than the chemical garbage. Now, a lot of studies show these chemicals are actually addictive. That's why they're putting them in the food, the water, and these other products. Now, a lot of folks just become allergic to it, but a lot of people get addicted to toxins. That's a big secret about poisons, is many of them are addictive. So that's kind of the secret sauce secret of these big chemical companies and others. But I've gotten to where I just can't use anything that isn't organic because there's just so much garbage in the environment. It just builds up and builds up. I get sick if I use something that isn't organic. I've mitigated all the toxins in the environment, the toxins in the air, the toxins in the food by filtering my water, filtering my air as much as I can, and then only using high-quality certified organic products. And most of those companies, the average liberal knows this is going on, so they go out and take care of themselves. But they're anti-American companies, not the folks that power Emmerich's Essentials. We have 50% off. It's going to, I said it's going to end this weekend. It's going to have to end today because it's still up. 50% off on InfoWars high-quality storable food. That's 50% off the regular price. So that's not like we raised the price and then lowered it. Knockout, powerful sleep aid with the melatonin, L-tryptophan, valerian root, lemon balm, chamomile, and so much more. It's 40% off at its regular price of $29, folks. It's a great deal. It's $17.97 right now. Just a regular bottle of melatonin of the same dose costs this much or more. So this has the same dose of melatonin that they recommend is safe and effective with everything else in it. It's amazing. When I forget to take it, I'm an idiot. It's just better, restful, deep sleep. It's amazing. Especially if you're taking stimulants like coffee and stuff during the day that can deplete your brain. Not like serotonin reuptake inhibitors, but it does it. So this helps add it back. Get your bottle of that. That special is going to end today as well. Emmerich's Essentials, 50% off all Emmerich's Essentials. I'm going to go ahead and end that special tomorrow. It's time to end that. Caveman is about to sell out. The bone broth formula, 50% off. Amazing product, but it's about to sell out. We don't get more till next month. So whether it's strawberry or chocolate, take advantage of that and fund an operation having a huge effect. 50% off all Super Blue, fluoride-free, made in America, high-quality products with colloidal silver and iodine. That's 50% off. That is going to end here in the next few days as well. Whatever you do, take advantage of these specials today. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And listen, where can you say there's an organization being more demonized, more attacked than InfoWars? It's because we have the sources, we're fearless, we're over the target because we know you can't sell out to the globalists because they're pure evil. If the globalists weren't pure evil or like Boss Hogg, I wouldn't be risking my life. I'd be trying to be a moral person and change things, but I wouldn't be balls to the walls, you know, death match. All the stuff they've done to me, man, I tell you, it's been something else. But they hadn't brain damaged any of my kids yet because I knew the vaccines were deadly. I read the insert. Poor Mark, big successful businessman, his daughter almost got killed. So, listen, I'm not a selfless person. I'm selfish. I want America. I want freedom. I want you to be free. I don't want a bunch of dirtbag technocracy people running my life. So InfoWarsLife.com. Thank you all for your support and your prayers and support our local affiliates. Now, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there with Roger Stone, Jerome Corsi popping in, Andrew Torba. Maybe we'll just all ride shotgun with everybody. Mike Cernovich, Posobiec, Jack Posobiec, Paul Joseph Watson. It's all coming up. Unprecedented censorship's been launched. I mean, it's here now. Google's actually working to shut down other sites outside of their network now. I mean, it's here. They're trying to shut down Gab right now. He's going to be in studio with us. He lives here in Austin. It's just incredible. But Roger Stone joins us. Talk about vindicated. They said we were crazy. We made it up. Nobody was spying on anybody in the Trump campaign. Turns out Roger Stone was FISA'd. Turns out Clapper lied, Comey lied. Trump was spied on via the NSA. The Justice Department had criminal stuff open on Trump's campaign head, and they lied to Congress, and they lied to the public. This is incredible. Total vindication in triplicate yet again. We are the platinum standard. Roger, you're the platinum standard of accuracy, and that's why they want to shut us down.
Alex, you're absolutely right. I have a piece up at USA Today, an op-ed piece that they solicited. It's kind of hard to explain this in 340 words, but I make the case that the entire rubric, the entire narrative of Russian collusion with the Trump campaign is a falsehood. And now we learn that Paul Manafort was, in fact, under surveillance. Judge Andrew Napolitano was absolutely correct. In fact, the former director of intelligence, Mr. Clapper, testified before the Senate under questioning from Senator Feinstein, admitted that the British intelligence services were surveilling Trump and his associates. This is what allowed Jeff Sessions to say only about a week ago that we, quote, we are not in possession of evidence that Donald Trump and his associates were surveilled. Notice the careful wording. Of course, they're not in possession. The Brits did this for the U.S. intelligence services, in some cases, to give deniability.
Sure, they play semantical games.
You know, this is, as you know, a standard operating procedure. But in the case of Manafort specifically, we learned yesterday that he was under surveillance prior to his involvement in the Trump campaign, that he was under surveillance during the inauguration, during the presidential transition. That means de facto that my conversations with him, Alex, were being eavesdropped on by the government. Also, his conversations with President-elect Trump. And then President
Sure. So
Trump
why are they admitting it? Why are they admitting it now? Because they admitted it previously. Then Trump pointed out it was illegal. So then they said they never did it. Now they're back admitting they did because Mueller is getting ready to use some of this.
I think that because they realize it is going to come out in a trial. Manafort has now been formally informed that he will be indicted. Now, whether that is an indictment for failure to file, properly under FARA with the allegation that he, while running the campaign in the Ukraine for a legitimate and recognized Democratic political party in an election in which we recognized the outcome, or whether he is being indicted for money laundering or tax evasion or some other trumped up charge. The point, of course, is all of this is just leverage. In other words, Manafort, we're going to indict you and send you to jail on this trumped up charge if you will just admit that you were colluding with the Russians and say Donald Trump knew everything. We'll let you off the hook. In other words, they want Paul Manafort to become John Dean. They want him to lie. They want him to bear false witness against our president and say things happened that never really happened. And Alex, I can assure you, Paul Manafort is not going to do that, no matter how hard they squeeze him. If you're waiting for the headline, Manafort makes a deal, will testify against Trump, that day will never come. Never.
Now let's expand on that. What are they going to do? Comey's committed all these crimes. He's leaked intelligence. He's done. He's got to be indicted.
Well, as I told you last night, incredibly, when the FBI broke into Manafort's apartment in Alexandria, Virginia at 5 o'clock in the morning, ostensibly looking for documents and taking away 2 notebooks of documents, which they already had, they went through an extensive operation to photograph his expensive custom-made Italian suits. What kind of Mickey Mouse BS is this? Are they perhaps going to indict him for taking a business tax evasion, tax credit for the value of his suits? First of all, the IRS has disallowed that long ago. The
point is there's total desperation. Let's come back then. We're going to bring in Dr. Corsi. We all broke here, not just the NSA spying, but previous NSA spying and the documents, which notice the media didn't want to touch because those are Trump's phone numbers. Those are my numbers. That's real spying. So we need to go after Obama for his criminal activity that makes Nixon look like an angel cake. Something weird's going on. Suddenly, CNN, ABC News are all reporting that aspartame causes brain damage, diabetes, and makes you obese. CNN's reporting fluoride in utero lowers children's IQs, lowers brain sizes, and causes 15-point IQ reductions by age 7. I mean, it's just everything's coming out. It's almost like they're starting to give up, but I don't think that's happened. But it's something weird's going on, Roger Stone. I know you got to go. You're at your lawyer's office. You're finally testifying in secret next week. We'll have reporters there to cover it. But going back to Roger Stone, they're admitting the illegal spying. Trump's been vindicated. USA Today is asking you for big op-eds, basically admitting you're right. What is going on here?
Well, I think they're in retreat because their allegations of Russian collusion are collapsing before your very eyes. It's interesting, Alex, that in her book, the What Happened by Hillary Rodham Clinton, which I'm have here on me, that she yet again repeats the same 3 lies. She repeats yet again the claim that that I knew about the hacking of the Podesta email in advance. They knew that I knew about the content of WikiLeaks in October, and that my communications with someone alleging to be Guccifer 2.0 is completely innocuous and happens long after the fact. But it's the big lie technique, whether it's Adam Schiff or whether it's Hillary Clinton, they just continue to promulgate a lie. And so I'm going to have an opportunity to clean that up. Believe me, I will make the case in front of the committee that they did wiretap Trump, that they did wiretap Trump Tower, that they did surveil Trump's associates. The big lie is about to be exposed.
Boy, I sure hope somebody records that, because you know they're going to put out false statements on you, as they've done previously with the committee, on other people and lie about what you said. I mean, Schiff may say that you admit to being a Russian agent and work for the KGB and, you know, violate the secrecy of the committee. That's what they've been doing so far.
Yeah, look, this guy is a real shift head, and I think he's capable of just about anything. But I will be prepared, and this is not, as you know, our first rodeo. So I'm looking for a day of vindication, a day of rebuttal, and we're going to drive this point home. Donald Trump was spied on by the deep state during his presidential campaign and during his period as president-elect, and for all we know, is still being monitored as president today.
That's right, and they are so absolutely scared of that coming out because it's illegal, and they found nothing, and they've got to be panicking right now.
I think they're in full retreat, Alex, and this notion that you would go try to jack Manafort up on a charge of taking tax deductions for his expensive Italian custom-made suits, which, by the way, never fit terribly well anyway. He had a tendency to buy a silhouette that was not right for his physique. That's a whole different program. But what kind of Mickey Mouse crap is this? They told us this was about Russian collusion, Russian interference in the election, but they can't find anything of the kind on Manafort, so they seek to leverage him with some minor charge to get him to be Judas Iscariot, to turn on his president and make things up. They want him to lie. They're trying to induce him to lie.
Wow.
That's not going to happen, in my opinion.
All right, Roger, we'll be checking in with you throughout the week, and then with next week's hearing, we'll have folks there with the exclusive. Thank you. We'll be right back with Dr. Corsi, who broke the news of the whole separate NSA spying. Wow. And then we've got a bunch of guests being censored, unprecedented. Google's making its move. Not just censoring you on Google, but going outside Google to censor. All right, for this segment and part of the next, Dr. Jerome Corsi joins us. And then Google tech giants threaten to shut down free speech social site outside of Google. Google's working to shut down Gab. Gab has followed suit. I mean, it's here. They've been censoring a while, but this is like 1,000% what it ever been. And that's conservative. I mean, this is like 10 times the censorship we've ever seen. They're hitting InfoWars. They're hitting us all because they know the Democrats are being turned into a regional party. They know globalism's in retreat. And so they just want to bring in total tyranny to stop it. Now, we stuck our neck out there and got secret NSA documents that have been given to federal law enforcement for years that they'd done nothing with, that Obama was spying on hundreds of thousands of prominent Americans. I was in there. Michael Savage was in there. So many people are in there. Trump, his private phone numbers, his number at Mar-a-Lago. This was NSA. This was a huge law enforcement database of databases of spying. Here's the headline: NSA documents prove surveillance of Donald Trump and his family. This is a short segment, longer segment coming up with Dr. Corsi. But wow, what do you make of the vindication? What do you make of them starting to retreat right as Mueller prepares the fake indictment? What's going on?
Well, Alex, you're exactly right. I mean, we had authoritative sources. We had the database from whistleblower Montgomery. It had come through Sheriff Arpaio's office. They had completely validated it. The NSA wiretapping, really electronic surveillance, which is massive, and Snowden was completely right. I mean, I think it's gone on since, for decades. I think it's continuing even today. I mean, if you remember, Clapper, the DNI head, when he was testifying with Congress, was asked if U.S. citizens were being under electronic surveillance, and he said, not wittingly. Well, I don't know what that answer means, but that means yes. I mean, we are being under surveillance. Maybe they're not listening to it all unless they have a reason, but we know Donald Trump and you, Alex, were under massive electronic surveillance, and I don't think it's ever quit.
And we know they were using it politically. That's criminal. I mean, Comey's been caught perjuring himself, caught leaking classified information. The word is folks are looking at indicting Comey.
Well, and in fact, we also reported on that through the Obama administration with these leaks, the information that was being leaked could only have come from electronic surveillance. And now we know that Susan Rice was involved in this unmasking. I mean, we know, where is Jeff Sessions? We need to get criminal prosecutions of the NSA for violating its charter. It ought to be shut down. And we were way ahead of this story, Alex. It took a lot of abuse for it, but it turns out we were always correct.
Why is Mueller so arrogant?
Mueller is a political operative, and his job is going to be to produce a indictment or charges against Donald Trump of obstruction for justice. They've changed it. They don't have the ability to bring the Russian collusion. They won't care.
And even CNN admits that Mueller's broken the law, grabbing stuff that wasn't in the search warrant, threatening people. I mean, Mueller just acts like he's God.
Well, and in fact, we said that Comey was going to actually say that Hillary was not going to be indicted. That was set up. Comey and Mueller have been fixers for the Clintons. They're political operatives. And Mueller's job is to produce enough on Donald Trump to force him to step aside.
And by the way, Waters has met with him and says, he's ours, he's going to get him, you watch. And the word is they've already got the grand jury ready to sign any indictment. That's why they told Manafort last week, you better roll over. We are going to indict you. So they're admitting this grand jury's completely kangaroo.
And Mueller is a complete political operative. This and his relationship with Comey, the two of them ought to be indicted. They ought to have been indicted years ago. They're completely fixers and they're crooked. And he's going to try to bring Donald Trump down. Mark my word.
You know, instead in Australia, they call a fake jury a line of kangaroos, and the judge says the jury says this. But in this case, it's like alligators out of the swamp all lined up. We're going to come back and talk about where is this going next. Because Hillary now has made a statement. She intends to overturn the election. You'll see the video coming up. Coming up, Trump gave a powerful speech this morning at the UN, said the people are starving in Venezuela. They're the richest oil country in the world, more than Saudi Arabia, and they can't keep their power on more than a few hours a day because of communism. And they have staged elections there. And our own media criticizes the president and says, you don't have proof of that. Are you kidding? They arrest all the major opposition party leaders and don't even let them run or be on the ballot when polls show they're going to win. It's just like the president said he was being spied on. It just goes on and on. Everything the president said has been accurate. Everything we've said has been accurate. I mean, sometimes we get like a name wrong or some little point, but in the main, the Democrats all over the country now have cities, 7 in Maryland, like 15 in California. I can't even keep track of it. Major cities where they let illegals vote. And then they say, oh, we're not stealing elections. And then they say, we want world government. We want to force inoculate you. We want this. We want that. Shut up. Fluoride's good for you. Really, here's CNN. Fluoride exposure in utero linked to lower IQ in kids. Man. Wow. The whole thing's collapsing. This is just incredible. What do you make of even USA Today reaching out to Roger Stone and wanting him to write an op-ed and letting him publish it, that the Russian collusion is a delusion? He published it at InfoWars and they asked for it. And that it's all fake and that it's made up by Podesta, who really has been a Russian agent. I mean, this, I think, really shows they realize something we don't know. They're really starting to desert Hillary right now. I'm going to play this clip in a moment. Right as she comes out and says everything's InfoWars' fault and that they need more money to invest to stop us. That's a quote. And she also says that she's going to try to block the election and overturn the election, which they admit they're stewing in the background, as if they're going to get rid of Trump and have a new election and federalize it, when even the Democrat attorney generals unanimously have said that it's unconstitutional. All 50 state attorney generals have written letters, but they're writing articles admitting we're about to be a minority party only on the coastal elites. The public turned against us. We're done if we don't take over. The answer is take over and have martial law for a while and have new elections. They're even writing this in Atlantic Monthly like everyone isn't reading it that actually thinks. Like the military isn't reading this. Like the agencies, the deep state isn't bad. It's the shadow government controlling it. The shadow government's blocking Trump. They've got him surrounded. But don't they understand we have them surrounded? Every day our credibility goes up. Every day our listeners go up. Every day their credibility goes down. Dr. Jerome Corsi, who broke the NSA spying, broke it all. What's the next shoe to drop? I mean, am I sensing a real turning of the tide here?
I think the deep state is in deep trouble right at the moment. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Mueller shift ground. And when he comes out and indicts or recommends the indictment of Trump, which he will do, it's going to be on the grounds of obstruction of justice, because they're going to drop the Russian collusion in favor of obstruction of justice. And he's going to be charged with firing Comey in order to protect the presidency. The whole goal is for Donald Trump to be forced to recuse himself or to hand over the presidency to Pence while he defends himself in court or in the House of Representatives on impeachment. Of course, Bill Clinton did not step down when he was facing impeachment charges, nor did Richard Nixon. But the pressure will be on Trump, and it'll be enormous, because Mueller is going to come out and he's going to bring charges against the White House, against Donald Trump himself. I'm confident that's in the works.
Well, Roger said I can get into some of it. He told me 2 days ago and then last night, and of course we didn't do it and got scooped by Daily Caller, which I don't. That's fine, but it's not that they're going for an indictment with the grand jury. They said, we've got an indictment, you better do this. This is directly from, obviously, he and Manafort have been business partners 30 years, worked for Nixon, they're best buddies. So I can't get into all of it, but, I mean, Manafort's like, there is nothing. And all they did was aim machine guns at him, cuss at him, photograph his underwear. They just totally tried to intimidate, and they're basically intimidating him with prison time and diesel treatment. And I know that most of the feds aren't bad people, but they got these special units of Democrat scumbags. And this is like Nazi-like behavior, man. I'm getting tired of it.
Well, I agree with Roger. I don't think Manafort will break. I'm kind of going deeper. I've got, other sources of information which say that already in work within Mueller's office is the plan to abandon the Russian collusion in favor of making it a secondary argument. In other words... Oh,
they've already been saying forever, if they find a crooked toenail, that everybody's... Right. I mean, exactly.
And what they're going to say is, they're going to say that Donald Trump actually tried to obstruct justice by firing Comey. They're going to go after him for obstruction of justice in order to end the Russian collusion investigation. Now, that's going to be the shift. It's going to be how they're going to change ground and hope nobody notices. But that's in the works. And you can bet that Mueller is not going to resign or leave until he brings charges against Donald Trump. And Trump had better recognize this. He better be aware of it. It's coming. It's going to be in the works. And the White House is going to have to face, because unless Mueller can be fired, unless there's a decision to, turn the investigation up with Sessions and begin investigating.
Sure.
Mueller.
Is it the answer going after Comey? I mean, Comey... I know that's what the president thinks. I mean, Comey said there's no spying when the president was already president, and he has all the details. He knows exactly what was going on. It's just classified. He can't release it. They're spying on everything. And now it's come out, as you said, with the foreign court, the FISA. It's come out with the Justice Department. They all lied. They lied under oath to Congress. Comey, I played the clip earlier, said no spying by the Justice Department on Trump. He said it was crazy in one interview. So that's why Trump said, what is this guy talking about? He knows Comey's a liar. So Comey has perjured himself. He's given classified material to the New York Times. He's full of crap. He needs to be put in a prison cell.
Well, and I don't know what Jeff Sessions is doing, but, Trump better call him into the office and say, look, if they're going to come after me like this, well, we're going to go after Barack Obama for the leaking that was done on the NSA and the lying about the NSA taping that was done. Snowden's been right all along.
Well, listen, I guarantee you, if Trump went in and told the special forces, command out of Florida, let's just arrest all these people, they just do it. And I'm not calling for martial law, but the Democrats are walking us into martial law, banning conservatism, banning Christians, just saying we're all white supremacists. That's the play. They're going with that now. They already want martial law. They want to overturn an election. And I think if the president can't control this, he's got to call out the Special Operations Command, and the governors are going to back him, and we just got to arrest a few hundred of these people. It's a foreign plot, a multinational plot. He has to move against them. Instead of playing, they're never going to leave him alone. They're never going to leave us alone.
Trump is in a coup. This is a coup attempt. And it's a coup attempt that is going to be played out through Mueller. The idea is he will be charged with obstruction of justice. That'll force impeachment, or will force him to step down. They charge him in a criminal court, which they may well do. that may bring criminal charges against Donald Trump.
Because he pulled out of the treasonous TPP and the carbon taxes and started securing the borders and is taking care of the veterans and trying to get the economy going. I mean, it'd be one thing if he was a globalist traitor and they were trying to put him in jail. He hasn't done anything, and they're all as dirty as it gets. I'm sick of it.
And Donald Trump's going to have to fight back. He's going to have to take control of the power of the presidency, take control of the Department of Justice, clean it out of the Obama people, fire Mueller, bring Mueller and Comey under investigation, and bring charges against Barack Obama for massive use of the national NSA in domestic spying and leaking to the press. We've had the evidence of it since March. We published it repeatedly. I've been trying to get the attention of the American public on this for...
Well, you've got the president's attention. You know, you talked about how to defund Obamacare, and now they admit that exact plan's been followed.
And look, we also have the president's attention on the Arpaio pardon. I think we have the president's attention.
Well, we know that, and that's why they say no InfoWars, no Breitbart in front of the president, period, no nothing. When the president knows we're the only ones backing him, we're the only ones that aren't complete traitors.
And we're still able to communicate directly to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has to understand that this is a serious, mortal game. This is the game to the death. The deep state.
Yeah, this is Julius Caesar stuff. They're not going to stop. They know they've lost politically. They want martial law. They want civil war. They want cop killing. They want to overturn the chessboard. They're losers. And he has to know that listen, I've never talked like this. I'm anti-police state. They're the ones setting up a police state. They're the ones that want a coup over our republic. And so the last thing we've got is the American people, the governors, and the military.
Well, and it is not going to stop. We've got to understand that this is going to go on right to the bitter end. I mean, the next plan is they can't get an indictment that will hold, or assassination's the next step that they'll go to. I mean, this deep state is in full to win or lose.
But don't they get it's not 1963? It killed Trump all day. Nobody's stopping this movement. It's not like they're in North Korea or poor Russia kicking a bunch of serfs around. We've had a history of freedom and a history of rebelling, and they got to know they're going to lose.
And we've also had a history of deep state revelations. We've had Iran-Contra. We've had all the revelations.
Well, that's what scares them, because I'm not kissing the deep state's butt, but it was set up to fight the Soviets and for COG. There are a lot of good people in the deep state that helped Trump get elected who are the ones that are pissed about what's happening. That's got to scare the globalists, Corsi, to know that there are more patriots in there than in the low-level and mid-level rooms.
And we've got to light a fire under Jeff Sessions. If he's not willing to go after Hillary on the emails, Hillary on the foundation.
Do you think Sessions is compromised?
I think I'm beginning to think so. I think we'll make another round attempt to get to Sessions, and then from there on, my recommendation is going to be to fire Sessions. I hate to say that. I've known Jeff Sessions a long time, but unless Donald Trump has the ability
If he doesn't have the stomach for a fight, he needs to get out of the game. Thank you, Dr. Corsi. We'll be right back with Key Guest. Stay with us. We're sending out an SOS. Andrew Torba runs Gab.ai, which has become one of the biggest alternative social networks out there. And what are Google and others doing? They're going and lobbying to have it shut down and delisting it. So they have that argument, oh, Google's our own company, Facebook's our own company, Twitter's our own company. And then when they're not running slave factories like, Apple does, they're trying to shut down everybody's free speech. Google tech giants threatened to shut down free speech social site Jamie White, Infowars.com yesterday. And I read the article and followed the links. They're publicly calling everyone white supremacists. They're now saying they didn't want to have Spicer go speak at the event the other night, the Hollywood event, the Emmys, because he's a white supremacist. See how this works? I mean, it's just crazy how they dehumanize you, then they take your speech. And then we got Mike Cernovich joining us. Hillary's law firm. He posted on his website. We'll pull it up next segment. Hillary's law firm is threatening to sue, saying you can't use a green frog. You hear that, Kermit? In fact, I've got a clip here I'm going to give you guys. It's from South Park. Let's go download it off my phone if you can. I just randomly, South Park was on last night, and they're throwing a fit and tear up a little green frog. Looks like Pepe. So they're saying you can't have any green frogs because you're a white supremacist. That's the Bloomberg headline. creator of Pepe, sues white supremacists, then who they're suing are hated by white supremacists. I know for a fact I'm hated by white supremacists. So is people like our guest. But we allow on our message boards or on his great site Gab people to have free speech as long as you're not calling for violence or doing stuff that's criminal. That's called living in a free country. There it is, white supremacist use of Pepe the Frog, fought by its creator. And then if you link to somebody else's cartoon with a frog, they just say, no frogs, period. Well, you know what? I copyright the term gay frog, and I say Pepe's gay. And you got to be pro-gay pride, as I am, being a little sarcastic here, so Pepe belongs to me. But seriously, under free speech, you have total protection under political speech to do whatever you want with Pepe the Frog. It's total intimidation. That's coming up. But thank you, Andrew Torba, creator of Gab, which they're trying to shut down globally. I mean, it's really here. Tell us, in fact, you've sued Google. I forgot to add that point.
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. And we announced this lawsuit actually on Friday. And I find it really interesting that our domain registrar ended up contacting us within 48 hours and saying that you have to find a new registrar. We will not support you anymore because in Australia, we don't allow hate speech. And you have hate speech on your website.
Wow. And notice 6 months, 8 months after the transfer to this multinational group, the U.S. created the web, but it always protected domain registry. Now everybody's being kicked off their register, being shut down. Isn't that liberal?
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, as an extension, we have .ai, right? So not many registrars actually support our extension. So we had very limited choices, but thankfully, we did find a registrar to support us. We are not going to reveal who that registrar is because what was happening is people on the alt-left and people that wanted to see Gab go down and people that want to destroy free speech ended up doing mass reporting to this registrar, and apparently they caved under this pressure.
And they call us Nazis when the first thing the Nazis did was go after their political enemies and not let them have commerce.
Absolutely. And, you know, you were speaking about the frog before. You know, we have a cartoon frog, and we launched our brand well before the whole hysteria about Hillary and the ADL claiming that a cartoon frog has anything to do with Nazism or white supremacy. It's just absolutely absurd. And we had the mainstream media painting us as Nazis and as white supremacists and as all this nonsense for well over a year now. Finally, we've been able to change the narrative, and they're saying that we're a free speech site and that we've welcomed everybody, which has been consistent with our mission from day one.
And it shows the bullying, the intimidation to say everybody's Nazis. No one buys that now, so they're just trying to delist us. As I've said, I'm getting ready to sue some folks because I'm forced to. You know, Google's banned us from selling my DVDs, saying the Obama deception's racist because criticism of Obama is racist. I mean, this is next level true communist-style censorship.
Absolutely. I mean, we try to participate in the free market, right, Alex? We operated in good faith. We said we welcome everybody. We want to support freedom of speech and individual liberty for everybody. And the free market didn't work because it's rigged. You have two companies, Apple and Google, that own and control and dominate 98% of the mobile marketplace.
And then you come along with something saying, hey, we're not going to censor liberals or conservatives. And as long as it's not illegal, same thing we do at InfoWars, then you've got to be shut down. They are true thugs.
Absolutely, Alex. And we're going to continue fighting it.
Well, it's questionable if Google can fire its closeted conservatives, but now it's out on the web. It's in your article. We're going to go over it. And Mike Cernovich, Hillary's law firm, we're going to put it on screen. She is saying she's going to sue him for making fun of her with Pepe the Frog. So we've got Gab with its site that's got liberals, conservatives, Christians, gays, everybody on it. Just old-fashioned American-style site. As long as you don't threaten to kill somebody or try to sell drugs or something, you're able to be on there, post illegal pornography. And they're calling it a Nazi site. I mean, they've gone from just calling Trump a Nazi to saying I'm the unalloyed racist. They never show the proof. That's all they've got because they want to ban conservatism, ban Christianity in America. That's the admitted plan. They know their political system's failed. What do you do when your system fails? You go the Nazi model. You go to the communist Venezuelan model. You go the authoritarian model. And we have the creator of Gab, the social network, here with us. We have Mike Cernovich. joining us as well. I wanted to play a clip for both of them before we get into this story where Mike Cernovich is under attack and where Hillary Clinton's lawyers threatened Mike Cernovich with frivolous Pepe lawsuit. They don't even hide the fact that it's her law firm. Just like it's Obama's law firm that already sued me once and is suing Roger Stone. I mean, folks, you want us to fight. Listen, we're fighting. And by the way, we're not bitching and complaining we're under attack. It makes us really fight harder and get up earlier in the morning. At least it does me. And I was talking to Mike Cernovich last night. We'll talk to Andrew Torba of Gab here in a minute and see if it's done that with him. But, I mean, it lets you know how real this is. I mean, they lie about you. They demonize you. They want to arrest you. They try to hype stuff up so people kill you. And they dump hot coffee on you. And they're just... Their kids come up and cuss at your reporters and just scream F you, and they all celebrate it. I mean, they're trash that have taken our kindness for weakness. So that's coming up in a moment. But first, I mentioned this earlier, but it's so bombshell. Hillary has come out and has said that she needs the same weapons as Fox, Breitbart, and InfoWars. So we have the same weapons. We need more investment. You have Hollywood. You have all the comedy shows. You have all the major newspapers, all the major TV channels. Fox is now anti-Trump half the time. You've got 90% of the media or more. And then you're wanting to isolate the president from Breitbart and InfoWars because we'll show you where the Democrats admit they're spying on you out of one side of their mouth and then say they aren't the next day. And there's another clip. She says she won't rule out questioning 2016 election. They're planning, they wrote a white paper. Then they wrote 2. Then they wrote 3, and they didn't publish these in the high school newspaper. They published these in Pentagon Papers. They published these in Atlantic Monthly, New Yorker Magazine, Financial Times of London, and Foreign Affairs. I mean, they are walking their plan around. And then I get high-level CIA people on. They're like, oh, Alex, they're a bunch of scum. They'll never get away with it. You know, we do the killing around here. I hear a lot of arrogance out there by people in the deep state that they're winning this civil war against the globalists. That is really pride go before a fall, and I'm sick of the endemic arrogance of people in deep state. I'd be ashamed to be involved in all that. In the actual bureaucracy. It'd be one thing if you were a soldier or something. I'd admire that if you had good morals. But it's just incredible. So here's that first clip. Hillary saying, they have these weapons, but she has nothing. Nothing's ever your fault, is it, you monster? Here it is.
I don't understand why people who share our views aren't more willing to invest in media that can be competitive. Because what you've got is a right-wing advocacy propaganda, and you've got a kind of mainstream media that engages in false equivalency.
So she doesn't think the media leans left. She wants an actual liberal media infrastructure.
I found this so
Now, let's stop right there. As if CNN and MSNBC aren't, and they edited it down in that piece. If you read the full quote, it's got the quote from the radio show she was on where it says, in fact, we got to find that from the original podcast, where they say Breitbart, InfoWars. They don't even want those names on CNN. Brian Stelter, the Humpty Dumpty, is, with his no viewers, we're talking 100,000 viewers maybe, is up there telling the world that what she wants is a liberal advocacy. That's never existed before. No, it's you lying and saying you aren't when 97% of your Trump coverage is negative and you're a bunch of damn liars. I mean, this is amazing. Here's the other clip. This is Clinton saying that she wouldn't rule out overturning the election. See, they're only getting ready. Here it is.
Would you completely rule out questioning the legitimacy of this election if we learn that the Russian interference in the election is even deeper than we know now?
No, I would not. I would say...
You're not going to rule it out?
No, I wouldn't rule it out, but I also...
So what are the means, like, this
Politics.
is totally unprecedented in every way.
It is.
What would be the means to challenge it if you thought it should be challenged?
Basically, I don't believe there are. There are scholars, academics who have arguments that it would be, but I don't think they're on strong ground. But people are making those arguments. I just don't think we have a mechanism. You know, the Kenya election was just overturned. And really what's interesting about that, it might be, I hope somebody writes about it, Terry, the Kenyan election was also a project of Cambridge Analytica, the data company owned by the Mercer family that was instrumental in the Brexit vote. There's now an investigation going on in the UK.
The evil Mercers don't want the Muslims to take over Kenya and blow up the shopping malls. The evil Mercers are involved wanting England to have its freedom. Oh, my gosh. And an analytic thing to let them target conservative voters and get them out to vote. As if you don't have all that. Now, let's go to the founder of Gab, openly being censored. Then we're going to the great patriot broadcaster and investigative journalist, Mike Cernovich, rides shotgun with us, and then Jack Posobiec as well, because we're all vindicated about the spying with the wiretaps. What do you make of all this? Where do you go next? And just for new viewers, describe what Google's doing to you.
Yeah, so I think it's absolutely absurd what she's saying, being that she has not only the media, not only Wall Street, but also Silicon Valley on her side, and she's still lost. What Google has done to us and what Apple has done to us is they have prevented us from actively participating in the marketplace. They have exercised anti-competitive behavior and prevented us from getting our mobile apps into their app stores. Now, they claim that we have hate speech or objectionable content on our site. This again, is third-party user-generated content. It is not content that is generated by Gab. And what I would argue is that there is ISIS propaganda, there is child pornography, there is illegal transactions. All of this stuff that is far worse than anything you can claim about Gab is happening on Facebook, on Twitter, and everywhere else.
And under the Digital Millennium Act, you're protected just like they are. They're just excluding you to discriminatory action, claiming third parties make you guilty by extension.
Absolutely, which is why we're suing them, because we tried taking them on in the free market, and what we learned is that the free market is not free. It is rigged. It is owned and controlled by a duopoly of these two companies who, have 98% of the market under their hand.
And I agree. I'm not a litigious person, but we have to move against them. So they're kicking your apps off, just like they did Breitbart. They're not letting you have access, just like they're starting to do to us. Joe Rogan, was basically told they removed his podcast, blocked it. It was #1 when I was on, and they just, basically said in the signal, you have Alex Jones on, we'll just ban you. Well, if people give into that, it's game over, folks. And Joe can say, well, they didn't actually tell me that. No, they just didn't let the #1 podcast in history be at the top and don't even list it in the top 100 and blocked it and wouldn't upload it for 2 days and all the rest of it. No, this is what these dirtbags do, and it's dangerous.
Absolutely. And, the way that they're attacking us now is they're going after domain registrars. A lot of people don't understand that to put a website on the internet, it's just not, you don't click your hands and it happens. You need infrastructure. You need a domain registrar. You need a hosting provider. You need payment processors. And if you have
they've hijacked the infrastructure of the infrastructure since it got handed over to this UN conglomerate, just like Soros said in the WikiLeaks, they're now doing it.
Absolutely. President Obama signing over ICANN to the UN was one of the biggest mistakes in U.S. history, period. We no longer have the First Amendment protection, and ICANN is now, governed by the shadow entity of the UN.
And Google and Facebook and Twitter, and they all argue, hey, we're under international agreements now, just like Germany, we're banning hate speech.
Well, that's what's going on, is that the German hate speech laws are being applied to the entire internet and enforced and imposed upon U.S. citizens who have First Amendment protections.
Ah, yes, good. Da. I guess da would be Russian. Yeah. I tell you, this is just giving me a headache because you can see the whole thing happening. And the rank and file left used to be pretty decent people. They now know it's a takeover, and most of them like it and enjoy it and are living vicariously through the tyranny and getting off on it, even as more and more mainline liberal sites that aren't establishment-owned are being sucked up and censored as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen liberals support us. We've seen centrists, libertarians, obviously folks on the right. I think our registrar was a very big wake-up call. It's like, wait a minute, this type of stuff has never happened before. A registrar threatening to seize our domain because we have hate speech on a website. It's absurd. There's hate speech all over the internet.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube or Google right now and hear Alex Jones is an effing Jewish agent. I hope he dies. And, usually that's some leftist bot doing it. But so you're going to ban YouTube because somebody put a comment on there? This is selective racketeering. Stay there. I want to bring in Jack Posobiec in a few minutes. We're going to go a little bit in the next hour with the other guys. We're going to let Andrew Torba leave here soon. But Paul Watson's coming up to have a free-for-all discussion with us. Going to Mike Cernovich. Mike, we've got it up on screen. You've got Hillary's law firm threatening to sue you. It's up on your Medium website, threatening to sue you for using Pepe the Frog, sharing other people's graphics and articles, a pre-control telling you you can't use something because you're a white supremacist. That's the #1 slander. #2, under political fair use, you have 100% authorization to use whatever you want. You're a lawyer. We talked for an hour last night. Your lawyers have confirmed. I mean, under the SLAPP statute of California, you've got them. What are they thinking?
Yeah, this is just a way to go after me for Hillary Clinton's revenge. The things that they did, that they talked about, those Pepe images, I didn't even create them. I just commented on them as, hey, look, there's this image at Breitbart. It's kind of cool. That was an image, the original image from Breitbart. And
that's
all
right.
I
And
did
they're
was
saying
say,
you can't comment on somebody's image. Let's put what you commented on. Let's look at the thought crime that they list in the lawsuit, the lawsuit threat. Never miss a story. And it goes on. There's the evil article.
Yeah, exactly. So I just linked to a Breitbart article, used the Breitbart image. And the thing that's weird about it, Alex, and the reason I know this is a Hillary Clinton deep state operation is I'm not even a Pepe guy. I'm not a, Kekistanian. I never got into that Kekistan stuff. I'm glad that other people are doing it and having fun, and I think it's kind of amusing. But nobody even thinks of me as being a Pepe person. So what's happening, here's what they're finding out. I don't do anything illegal. I don't do anything shady. I don't do anything dodgy. So they're going to have to just drum up some frivolous lawsuit and find some way to try to crush me because they can't do it lawfully. But what they have to understand is that lawfare is economic terrorism. Filing a frivolous lawsuit is a death threat because you're trying to destroy a person's livelihood and destroy that person's family and to kill that family.
And there are major laws about trying to keep people from the market or shutting down their free speech for their political views. And so they're really going for broke.
Yeah, again, lawfare is terrorism, and I treat any frivolous lawsuit threat on me as an act of terrorism, as a death threat against me, because that's the only way to understand it is that, hey, you can't actually find me doing anything wrong.
Well, first they take your speech, then they take your life. That always happens.
Exactly. I've said, where is it going to end? Are people now finally paying attention? They want to murder our children. I don't know how many times I have to say it. They want to murder our children. They want to destroy our lives. They want to crush us. And we have to do something about this.
Did you see this top vaccine lady in Texas over vaccinating kids saying we want to kill all the white people? And she's a white lady. She actually says it.
Yeah, I mean, they say that in the open. But then if you go and say that they actually want to commit white genocide, they go, aha, we caught you. You're actually racist. No, I'm reporting on what other people.
It's taught at all the universities that whites are evil. I mean, you basically, you got the self-propelled stomach. Michael Moore saying it'll be better when all the whites are gone. All we're saying is if you said get rid of all the blacks, we'd be against it. It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I oppose black genocide, Jewish genocide. I oppose the Armenian genocide.
And everybody knows that. Everybody knows the white supremacists don't like you. Everybody knows they don't like me. Then why are they saying we're white supremacists? Because my lawyers tell me we're going to win these lawsuits. But
yeah, I might have to sue Bloomberg. The thing is, Alex, I don't believe in defamation lawsuits because they're a big time suck. They're a big waste of energy. There's so many other ways.
Sure, but when they start trying to keep you from being able to show political speech and violate your civil rights, you've got a really good suit there.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't go around threatening people with lawsuits. And moreover, if this Matt Fury Pepe guy just emailed me and said, hey, dude, I don't like you. Would you please never post anybody's Pepe work? I would just, as a human being, say, sure, I don't care that much about it anyway. I don't even know. Nobody thinks about
but you can't do that because we have 100% right, to show Kermit the Frog or any other green frog we want in our political show. It's not like I start a business and put a frog called Pepe the Frog out, as my business, and this guy trademarked it.
Yeah, I'm not selling Pepe the Frog comic books. And again, the image that I did was from Breitbart. And it was non-commercial. I'm commenting on an image.
And they also talk about
website.
the little video you made with Hillary saying Trump was breathing over, showing a frog. It's funny. It's your speech. It's satire. 100% protected.
Yeah, and I didn't even make that. And I just posted it because somebody sent it to me as like a fan video.
Exactly. So they don't have a leg to stand on. What are you planning to do? Because I think I think this is a very strong slap suit here just for the intimidation, the threatening you, the intent to do harm to you, the intent to cause you anxiety, the attempt to terrorize your speech, the attempt to racketeer and block your speech.
Yeah, the big thing I'm focused on now is we have to find out why Facebook and Google are opposing the Stop Online Human Trafficking Act. So this is actually a big story.
Exactly. They're supporting people with trafficking, but they want to ban Christians. Let's tell folks about that, and then we'll get the founder of Gab's take on it.
Yeah, so this segues perfectly into what we're talking about, which is that Google and Facebook, they want to ban us and censor us and ban us from the internet for political speech. But right now, Congress is holding hearings on a very important law that would protect children from being molested and raped. Google and Facebook have hired lobbyists to fight this law. And this just recently, the Washington Post is even fired up. Even the Washington Post published an article September 18th, I linked to it on my Twitter, where they're going, why are they supporting pedophilia? So I now call Facebook Pedo Book. They are pedophile neighbors. Google is pedophile supporters. We need to get the message out that because look, Google and Facebook don't say, well, we support free speech. You can say whatever you want.
Exactly. We don't have op-eds for underage girls on InfoWars or Gab. Why are they trying to block us when we're doing nothing but promoting the American way of life?
Right. So if you want to buy an ad to sell children on Facebook and Google, they say that you should have the right to do that, and Congress shouldn't be able to stop that because it's free speech. But if you or I want to post a video or a meme or a GIF or a cartoon frog, they go, no, 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 this is very important. So here's what happened, Alex. They have chosen to censor us. That means anything they do not censor, they endorse. Therefore, Google and Facebook support pedophilia and child pornography.
That's right. They've destroyed their protection of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act that said third-party stuff's not your problem as long as you respond to the proper agencies. But instead, they're blowing away all of that in a giant frenzied power grab. They've major miscalculated. Great point. We'll be back. Joel Strauss, a Republican of Texas, wants a Confederate plaque removed that just commemorates the war from the Texas Capitol. Again, it's all this virtue signaling where Republicans pile on and say, we'll outdo the Democrats, we'll remove George Washington. All right, finishing up with Andrew Torba. Then I'm going to continue with Jack Posobiec that's coming on, a little bit more with Mike Cernovich and Paul Watson hosting the 4th hour, but I'm going to ride shotgun into that. Andrew Torba, I know you're from Austin. Normally you're out on the road right now. Please come into studio as soon as you get back to cover this, to go through it all. But you heard the eloquent points that Mike Cernovich was just making, and he's a lawyer. I've been talking to the copyright lawyers, international lawyers, trademark lawyers, lawyers that deal with infringement, tortious interference. I mean, these companies are breaking all the laws, all the rules, the very things that protected them, as Mike Cernovich just said. This is a power trip, desperation. What is it?
I'm not sure, Alex, but what it does display is their double standards and their hypocrisy. You know, for example, Google allows advertisers to target people searching for racist phrases, as does Facebook. So, you know, they claim to be cracking down on hate speech and censoring, you know, politically incorrect opinions. But meanwhile, they allow their advertisers to give them money for targeting those same things that they are censoring. So once again,
yeah, Google lets people sell Nazi flags, but then won't let us sell a DVD exposing Obama.
Right, absolutely. And you can go on Google and search for anything in the world and find it. You can find hate speech all over the internet.
And as if the planet's threatened by toothless Nazis. We're threatened by big global combines like Apple that own giant slave factories. They're the monsters. They're the scum.
Yeah, these people are disgusting, Alex. I mean, again, the double standards, the hypocrisy, the lies, it's all on full display for the public, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. People like us, our company is going to continue to fight back against this. There are other pro-free speech, alternative technology companies that are rising, and they're going to continue to rise. As long as they keep censoring us, you know, it's an unforced error. It's going to continue to propel our growth and the growth of alternative.
I totally agree. The Streisand effect. Thank you so much, Andrew Torba, Gab.ai. For now, they're mainstream news. Admit they're trying to shut him down. Mike Cernovich, when is the left going to wake up that they're being played, or is that ever going to happen in your view? I mean, how deep, how out of control is all this going to get? We'll ask Mike Cernovich that here in just a moment. Before I go any further, just this hour, we're running a bunch of specials that have got to end. Some of these we're going to end this weekend. I've just been so busy, and I wasn't here today with family issues that I've kept the specials going. 50% off on high-quality storable foods. That's just across the board. Never done that before. Emmerich's Essentials, 50% off as well. Those high-quality products. The Sleep Aid Knockout, 40% off. Caveman. Now this special will continue throughout the week or until it sells out. The bone broth, the turmeric, the chaga mushroom, the so many other things, the bee pollen, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And it is your purchase of the products that makes it all possible. I've got to end this special soon. All the Super Blue, fluoride-free, made in America, organic, toothpaste, mouthwashes, all of it for children and adults, 50% off because I want you to try it. You can still sign up for auto ship every 15, 30, 60, 90 days, cancel anytime. One click of a mouse, get an additional 10% off. That way you support us each month to get the great products. Don't have to keep reordering and wasting your time. Please commit to support the InfoWar, and we commit to you to not back down, to not falter, to not give in, to not bow, to not get on our knees. We will not back down. Now, I see Cernovich. He was just there and then he left, so we'll see. Will he be back as we start the 4th hour? Because I want to finish up with him being threatened to be sued by Hillary's law firm because he linked to a frog over a grave saying GOP. Yeah, that's who these thugs are. They think they're going to bully us into submission. Not going to happen. We'll be back with the 4th hour. Paul Watson, Jack Posobiec, Mike Cernovich, and yourself listening and watching, and myself, Alex Jones. Please spread the word. Newswars.com, newswars.com, newswars.com. You're living through it. Paul Watson, Mike Cernovich coming up in the next segment. Riding shotgun with us, Jack Posobiec. I had so many guests on the day, I'm like 30 minutes behind, so I want to thank all our guests for waiting and you, the viewers and listeners. Jack, what's going on with them readying indictments for Manafort having to admit they've been illegally spying on Trump and everybody else because they want to try to use that in court after denying it? Comey caught perjuring himself, wall-to-wall insanity, massive Google censorship. Just what is going on from your educated, informed view?
Alex, what we're seeing here is a full court press by Mueller and his team to put pressure on Manafort, and not just Manafort, but anyone else who was associated with the campaign, with the Trump campaign, and anyone else that's even working in the White House right now. They're trying to institute a chilling effect on policy, on Trump supporters from walking forward, from working with the president, from getting things done. Now, what they've done is they've had Paul Manafort under wiretap surveillance. They had it done during the campaign. They had it done during the transition. This is information that I reported all the way back in July. And I know, Alex, you guys have been talking about this. I specifically had the nugget that Manafort was their target during the Trump Tower meetings. I put that out. Now, the mainstream media runs around and said, oh, you guys are fake news. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't have real sources. Well, 2 months later, they're now forced to admit it was true. Because as part of Mueller's new plan, see, they thought they could just get him on the wiretap. They thought they would have evidence on the wiretap and that would be enough. And then they wouldn't actually have to disclose it because it would all be covered by FISA and would be considered part of the classified investigation. However, now they don't have anything. They actually have to admit it when they go forward, because if they want to introduce any of this stuff to a potential grand jury later or potentially release it out in open court, it's all going to come true. So that is why CNN is forced to admit this. That is why CNN is putting out the report now, even after Trump, of course, tweeted it out back in March. We reported it back in July that it was Manafort that they were targeting. Now the media is forced to come clean because Mueller is going again and again with trying to just these fishing expeditions, going out there, has nothing. The FISA judge even came back and at one point revoked the FISA warrant because there was a lack of evidence. I'm like, did you hear that, Mueller? Lack of evidence. You don't have anything. He's just trying to make a big stink to make it seem like he has something to get Manafort to cut a deal or to potential shake. What he's trying to do, Alex, is shake the tree. And it's
no, exactly. But I'm sick of the arrogance and
discernment used in law enforcement, where you really, really make a big stink as if you're on to something, you're on to people to see if others will come forward, if others will flip on the president and come forward with different things that are out there to go against him.
Sure.
And
sure, Jack,
it's just not true.
Exactly. We know they're shaking the tree, but they're the crooks. They're the ones that have done 1,000 times what they claim Trump has done. And forget just political tit for tat. I'm sick of watching them arrogantly walk around with all those Democrat lawyers when Mueller walks in like he's so powerful, like thugs in high school, and goes, yeah, Mueller, yeah, Mueller. And the media goes, oh, it's Mueller. Oh, he's God. He'll look at Trump. I'm just sick of these criminals and all the crap the child kidnapping and trafficking and Islamic terror and Clinton corruption they've covered up. I mean, Mueller is one of the most evil people in America.
No, I agree with your characterization as a school. It kind of reminds me of Animal House and Dean Wormer. It's like he's got Dean Wormer is putting Manafort on double secret probation now, and Manafort can't know what's going on. I'm going to put you on probation.
Even CNN admits that Mueller's done illegal stuff. I mean, just totally dangerous, just rampaging around like he's God. I just think Mueller's just an idiot. I'm so sick of him coming up with the Clintons. We're going to be right back. We got Jack Posobiec here, Paul Watson coming up, hosting this hour. We'll get some final comments from Mike Cernovich. Hillary Clinton's threatening to sue him straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. This is the InfoWar, newswars.com. And every Tuesday, Paul Joseph Watson co-hosts the transmission. Many days hosted himself, heading up InfoWars.com and PrisonPlanet.com as our main editor, working with all the great crew like Kit and many others. Don Salazar, you name it. What a great team we've got here. We got Paul Watson right now. Cernovich had to run off with an emergency phone call, but he's coming back. It might be some big breaking news, he's telling me. And Jack Posobiec's riding shotgun. I'm skipping 2 network breaks, so Paul gets his time back. We've got articles on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com where you can't make this up. They're mad that Trump didn't mention Russia in his UN speech. No, he just mentioned sovereignty and respecting nation states. And, you know, getting back to that, here's a Kit Daniels article on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. L.A. Times complains deported illegals overloading Mexican government. Yes, it's okay to overload us, but don't overload Mexico with their own people. Recently deported illegals are overloading the school systems in Mexico. That's funny. The L.A. Times is reporting after ignoring the fact that illegals were doing that in the U.S. for years. It's like they write this intentional comedy, but it's not. It's unintentional. The total political correctness where they had that Finnish police chief go, "It is good to have terrorists in our schools to teach our children diversity." That's a quote. And I'm reading these headlines like, police chief says we need terrorists in our schools. That's a quote. Then there's video of it. But again, once you're Stockholmed out, it's like one of the heads of the Texas vaccine program from Baylor goes, whites are evil. We need to kill all the whites. They're bad people. They don't comply with government. She's a white lady because whites are the #1 group not getting vaccines. And she goes, I'm a minority white and I'm proud of it. It's like this thing. I'm anti-white and I'm proud of it. Well, just lady, it's okay, you mental patient. Maybe you grew up with racist parents. I don't know. So now you've got to go the other direction where you sound like some kind of, UFO cult or something. You've gone crazy. And you've got a cult of following corporate orders and making us submit. No amount of censorship, no amount of any of it's going to do it. Paul, you got the Russia narrative imploding, even as Mueller gets ready with his kangaroo indictment from the swamp, from the District of Columbia. You've got all this incredible stuff happening. We're totally vindicated on the illegal spying, perjury by Brennan, by Comey, illegal leaking, I mean, the amount of news coming out. Pelosi, I haven't played this at a rally where she's saying Trump's going to do DACA and legalize you all. They go, screw you, white devil. Rah. I mean, she's like shaking. I'm going to play it in a minute. She goes, but you don't want DACA? I'm a billionaire since I got in office. I just want to swindle everybody and get more Botox in my brain. It's a Hispanic hate group. There's nothing you can do to ever make them happy. They're a creation of the CIA. They're useful idiots, just like any white supremacist group. So Paul, we've entered the vortex here. What do you got coming up today? What are you going to be covering before we finish up with Posobiec and Mike Cernovich?
Got a ton of stuff to cover, Alex. We've got the Antifa professor who literally says he's a member of Antifa calling for dead cops. He hasn't even been fired yet. But you talking about Russian hysteria. The anti-Pelosi protest, the Dreamers, heckling Pelosi yesterday, which she covered. They had a Democratic senator come out, Jeanne Shaheen, come out on CNN today and say that those protests by would-be illegal immigrants, or at least illegal immigrant supporters, were organized by Russia. She actually said that those anti-Pelosi protests, which are far from right-wingers protesting her, obviously, that is the work of Vladimir Putin.
Excuse me, I hadn't seen this yet, but I see them putting the Hill newspaper up. You're telling me Pelosi and the Democrats that created the La Reconquista Hispanic KKK mental patient, chip on the shoulder movement of babies, you're telling me that this loser group is she's blaming Trump and Russia? I mean, yeah. You're kidding.
No, they should have the clip. I sent them the clip earlier. This is a Democratic senator, Jean Shaheen, who said this on CNN today. They've got the clip if you want to play it.
Yeah, we've got it right now. Let's go ahead and play this crazy lady before we go to the clip from yesterday where Pelosi's like, but we're going to legalize you, huh? You don't want Dreamer? I mean, it's like, no, lady. It's like, James Bond, you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. We're a KKK group. We're scum. You created us, lady. You gave birth to us there at the toilet bowl. Here's the clip Paul's talking about.
Who believe that we need to do something to protect the Dreamers. And that's what I'm certainly going to continue to work on.
But again, I'm just confused about why they're holding Nancy Pelosi at fault here. Do they not like that she's working with the president to do this?
Listen, you'll have to ask them. Who knows who's stirring up this kind of animosity. What we know about the Russians and their interference in the 2016 elections is that they tried to increase divisions within this country. We saw it again in Charlottesville. So we don't know what's behind this, but what we do know is that we need to take action to protect the Dreamers, to allow them to stay in America.
This is, Paul, we are seeing total mental illness.
No, I mean, it's gone absolutely rampant now, this Russian hysteria. Alex, I got one that's even worse. I don't know if you covered this earlier, but I just tweeted it out. They can try and grab it. This is a 2-minute clip posted on Twitter by Investigate Russia, an account on Twitter, which is, I think it's linked with the actual Russian investigation. I'll have to check that. But it's Morgan Freeman in a PSA saying we are at war with Russia and that President Trump needs to come out and call out Russia and we're at war with them.
Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman, yeah.
Guys, grab it off at Prison Planet and then retweet it at Real Alex Jones. This has reached biblical proportions. Let's bring in Jack Posobiec here for a final comment on this insanity. I got to be honest with you, Jack. At a sick level, this is incredibly entertaining. I mean, I can hardly sleep now watching weirdo, senile dingbats claim Russia attacked Korea, islands float. They think George Bush is still president, and now the Russians run Mecha and La Raza. No, the Ford Foundation and the CIA do. This is next level, man.
We saw this as well with Whoopi Goldberg on The View not too long ago when she claimed Antifa was really Trump supporters dressing up and attacking themselves to make it look like they were being attacked by the alt-left. In 20 years, Alex, we're going to look back. History will look back at this time period, and we'll talk about Muellerism, the way we used to talk about McCarthyism. That's what it's becoming. It's getting to be a parody of itself. They are reaching untold, intolerable levels of conspiracy theory, hysteria. And unfortunately, when you hear that kind of stuff from United States senators' mouths, that is the mouth of the people that want to put us on a war footing with Russia. That is what this all is leading towards. That is what they want. Regardless if they want war or not, they want it to spend money so they can buy military supplies and build up the military surplus. That is the goal with this. Hopefully, and I pray to God this doesn't happen, that my children don't see it someday, war between the U.S. and Russia. It would be World War III.
What do you make of this new thing Paul tweeted out at Prison Planet that we're going to play in a minute? Morgan Freeman saying we're now at war with Russia. It's one thing to have the failed sportscaster and actor, over at Esquire screaming Russian scum over and over again, Keith Olbermann. But Morgan Freeman, who sometimes says some pretty sensible things about all the race baiting.
It's dangerous. It's very dangerous because if you look at the characters they have Morgan Freeman play in these movies, he always plays a character that's either God or the president or this huge source of reliability. So he's seen as this overall authority figure that we should all respect and that we should all listen to. That's who Morgan Freeman always plays. That's who people are conditioned to see him as in these films. And now when he comes out and you hear the The very famous, right? The Morgan Freeman voice, the one we all know and love from Shawshank Redemption, now saying we're at war with Russia when no shot has been fired from Russia at the United States or vice versa. No war has been declared that I am aware of from Putin on us. It is a stalemate, and it should remain a stalemate. It is a détente.
Well, you know what's happening. You know what's happening.
But war, that is not something I want to be conditioned to see.
Globalists have taken the whole world over. There's only a few sovereign countries, the U.S. and Russia, and a few others. And so they want to play two final sovereign nations, two so-called Christian nations, still have the seed of Christianity, the potential. They want to play us off against each other. Jack Posobiec, at Jack Posobiec right there on Twitter, and all the great work you do. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, we're going to go back to Paul Watson and then Mike Cernovich here in a moment. But first, since Paul brought this up, retweet it. It is right now at Prison Planet. We're going to get an article up. This is insane. The voice of God, Morgan Freeman, says we are at war with Russia. Russian scum. Here's the clip.
We have been attacked. We are at war. Imagine this movie script. A former KGB spy, angry at the collapse of his motherland, plots a course for revenge. Taking advantage of the chaos, he works his way up through the ranks of a post-Soviet Russia and becomes president. He establishes an authoritarian regime, then he sets his sights on his sworn enemy, the United States. And like the true KGB spy,
Like the true KGB spy, he tries to get their birth rates up, secure their border, and save their country and promote Christianity. Like an evil KGB spy, he tries to defeat ISIS and Al-Qaeda, murdering Christians all over the Middle East. Like a true KGB spy, he tries to deploy technology to the third world. Russia can't even stabilize itself. It's trying to. The globalists are trying to bully it into submission, just like us. That's the only Russian connection. Morgan Freeman, look at this guy. I mean, what is CIR? Crap Info Royale? Committee to Investigate Russia. Isn't that the group with the actress that they keep putting on Fox News? It turns out is like an actress. It just makes, oh my God. This is what the CIA comes up with. Morgan Freeman, that we're at war with Russia because Trump wants to get the stock market going and build our military. Oh, I'm sorry. Play the rest of the clip. God almighty.
he secretly uses cyber warfare to attack democracies around the world.
With no proof.
Using social media.
Hillary had Google, Facebook, Twitter, all the other sites, Dig, Reddit, all attacking. They had Hollywood. They had all the major networks. They had all the big banks. They had the corrupt Vatican. They had the corrupt Saudi Arabians. They had all the EU, all the Mexican government. Everybody gang up and say, you can't have Trump. You can't have a stock market. You can't have jobs. We sold your jobs off. You sit there and you take it. And you can't be a Christian. And we run your kids. And families are bad. And now you're telling me it wasn't us that did it, Morgan. It was the Russians. Good Lord. Man, they're making their move. Here it is.
World. Using social media to spread propaganda and false information, he convinces people in democratic societies
pause again. Back it up 10 seconds. We said that it was illegal wiretapping. We've been proven correct. We're not the fake news. I mean, I'm sorry, finish up with Morgan Freeman. Here it is.
It is to distrust their media, their political processes, even their neighbors. And he wins. Vladimir Putin is their spy, and this is no movie script. We need our president to speak directly to us and tell us the truth. We need him to sit behind the desk in the Oval Office and say, my fellow Americans, during this past election, we came under attack by the Russian government. I've called on Congress and our intelligence community to use every resource available to conduct a thorough investigation to determine exactly how this happened. The free world is counting on us for leadership. For 241 years, our democracy has been a shining example to the world of what we can all aspire to.
Wow.
And we owe it to the brave people who have fought and died to protect this great nation and save democracy. And we owe it to our future generations to continue the fight.
Join the committee to investigate Russia. Join the fight.
Wow. I mean, you talk about a load of horse manure. Paul Watson and Mike Cernovich. Paul, I mean, this is next level. And then we're going to go back to Mike Cernovich. What the hell do you make of this? I mean, this is totally made up, totally insane, and just states a bunch of lies as if it's fact. And Trump even played along and went, okay, maybe Russians did, it's wrong. Okay, more sanctions, Russia, you're bad. And then still go in there, repudiate it, say your election's a fraud. That's how Hillary, who admitted today she wants to overturn the election, that's what they're trying to maneuver. I got to give Morgan Freeman and the CIA leftists this. They are some bold bastards, Paul.
Well, this is the truth about this clip, Alex, put out by the Committee to Investigate Russia. You asked who was behind it. This is a non-partisan group, right? That's what they say on the website, non-partisan. Oh, look at the advisory board. It's James Clapper once again.
Well, look at the symbol. Again, it's the same font as CFR. Oh, they think we're dumb. It's the CFR right there. It's the Central Intelligence Republic or whatever. Oh, they think we're dumb.
No, Alex, the first name they list on this advisory board is Max Boot, top CFR globalist.
Neocon.
This is the globalist. Literally putting out a clip saying we're at war with Russia. And it's James Clapper. And in this clip, they're whining about fake news. This Clapper literally got on NBC with Chuck Todd and said they never surveilled anyone in the Trump administration. He's the genesis of fake news, and they say that we're fake news in this clip. Oh, and by the way, we're at war with Russia.
How much do you think they paid Morgan Freeman to do this?
I don't know at this point, but again, it's like Jack was saying, he's associated with positions of authority. That's why they chose him.
Yeah, they admit Rob Reiner runs this with the CFR, just like we thought.
Yeah, it's CFR.
Hollywood was literally worshiping Russia when it was communist and killing Christians. And now they're so pissed that they can't strangle Russians anymore and do ritual magic on their dead children.
No, it's absolutely ghastly rhetoric, Alex. You've got somebody who's trusted because, of course, they can't reach people via the news because less and less people are actually watching it. So they have to get a big Hollywood star up there. The other organization linked with it is the American Enterprise Institute. So again, it's all these never Trump neocon organizations that are behind this clip.
And they're all doing it because they're desperate. I want to get Mike Cernovich's take on this and turn this hour over to Paul, who I want to join me again this week. Paul, Cernovich, what do you make of this next level? I think a desperate gambit.
Yeah, Max Boot wrote an article, a column actually for the LA Times, where he defended Susan Rice, even though Susan Rice lied and claimed that she had never unmasked and spied on people. And then when she got caught, she goes, oh, I did it for the good thing. This is wartime propaganda, and this proves that Hollywood, which, by the way, why isn't Morgan Freeman doing a video on pedophilia in Hollywood? Where's Morgan Freeman's video on the abuse in Hollywood of underage people, boys and girls? Why is Morgan Freeman not standing up against pedophiles in Hollywood? Every time you look around, they got nothing to say about that, but then they have a lot to say about conspiracy theories involving Russia. What I think is really going on here is Putin is actually very anti-pedophile and has done a lot of things to fight.
Oh, no, that's what it is. There's a global anti-pedophile network down. If you're not for the pedophiles, you're against them, and that's what it is. And anybody for the deep state is now a pedophile.
Deep state is definitely part of the pedophile networks, and they are pro-pedophile. There's no question about it. Where again, in the earlier segment, we talked about how Google and Facebook have literally hired lobbyists to fight
to allow the advertising of enslaved and kidnapped women on the web.
Right. So if you want to kidnap a child, chain her to a radiator in the house, beat her up with a whip,
and let 10 guys rape her a day and give her AIDS, then shoot her in the back of the head and throw her in a lake. It's totally liberal. Just like suicide nets at Foxconn with Apple. As long as you're liberal, it's loving.
Well, they want your ad revenue. Not even that, but they'll say, hey, if you want to advertise on the web for molesting children, then go right ahead. You have that free speech right. But Mike Cernovich and Alex Jones and Paul Joseph Watson and Jack Posobiec and Andrew Torba of Gab, and nobody else has free speech rights. No. So they're fighting hard to shut us up because why? What is the common theme, Alex? Anybody, we can, if we didn't talk about.
We're not pedophiles. We're not psychopaths. We're not in the psychopath club.
Yeah, if we quit talking about pedophiles and the pedophile rings, then they would leave us alone. That's what this is really
about. And by the way, you had to pop off for 15 minutes with an emergency call. Any big breaking news?
Nothing that I can release, but I'll let you know kind of back channel. But there is definitely it's embargoed right now. But yeah, there's definitely a war on anybody who addresses and attacks the pedophile networks. Google and Facebook, pro-pedophilia.
I noticed you just came back covering pedophiles, so I guess your call dealt with that. Like, just leave the pedophiles alone. Everything will be all right.
Well, I was actually told on a certain case. Oh, by the way, I don't know if we ever covered this segment, but I actually filed a lawsuit to unseal records involving pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and one of his accused madams. I spent $25,000 for that. We lost at trial. It went up on appeal, and you'll never believe it, but the Reporters Committee for a Free Press actually filed an amicus curiae brief supporting my argument that I'm entitled to these records about these pedophile networks. So I put my money where my mouth is. I'm suing to expose these pedophile networks. That's why they want to shut us down. That's why they want to crush us. Google and Facebook, we can now declare with absolute certainty, are pro-pedophile. They won't respect our free speech rights. They'll kick us off the internet. But if you go after pedophiles or people who advertise...
Oh, I know. I've been working with folks high level, and let me tell you, it doesn't matter you're in the government or not. You expose pedophiles, they come after you big time. Mike Cernovich, wow, Hillary's law firm threatened to sue you over Pepper the Frog. That is certainly rich. Thank you so much, Ed Cernovich on Twitter. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Alex. You know, litigation is just the way it is now. So I'm filing lawsuits, I'm getting sued, and what do you do, man? That's why I always thank the people for their support. We'd be nothing without them.
Absolutely. Ed Cernovich, support you, support us at Infowars.com. He's right. Paul Watson's taking over straight ahead. We're skipping the next break after this one so he gets more time. I'm going to turn the baton over to Paul Joseph Watson, who's so awesome. Everybody should lobby him to come on every day. We'll be right back with Paul Watson, Infowars.com, Newswars.com. Big specials in today. Please support us, Infowarsstore.com today. And Paul Joseph Watson from Her Britannic Majesty's London.
We are back. It is the fourth hour of the Alex Jones Show. Got a ton of news to cover in the final 30 minutes of this broadcast. Big article we had up on Infowars.com yesterday. Actually, before I get into that, let's just preface it with this. This is from an article up on Infowars.com today. Poll by the Brookings Institution finds that 1/5 of students, they polled students at 4 major U.S. universities, 1/5 of students support using violence to shut down free speech. Of course, we had the Ben Shapiro event at Berkeley last week. We've got the big Free Speech Week potentially coming up next week. They're still trying to block it. Ann Coulter, Steve Bannon, Milo Yiannopoulos, a bunch of other big speakers set to attend this Free Speech Week, still trying to block it on dodgy grounds of not having the right security. They're still trying to prevent the First Amendment from being exercised. Now, a new poll conducted by the Brookings Institution has found that 19%, that's almost 1 in 5 of students, support the use of violence to shut down offensive free speech, and over half, 51%, support the use of heckling to shut down speakers opposed by protesters. So that's basically deplatforming if the special snowflakes are triggered by a controversial offensive speaker.
That's called authoritarianism, Paul. And that, by the way, in Berkeley, they're not letting them have an indoor speech so the police can let them be attacked. Talk about scum.
No, that's exactly it. This poll also found that a clear majority of students, 62%, believe it should be legally required for a group to offer a platform to a speaker with an opposing point of view if that on-campus organization is featuring a speaker known for making statements that many students consider to be offensive and hurtful because they're hurt by feelings. They literally have safe spaces where they get to cuddle puppies and have crayons for coloring in. So again, that's the fairness doctrine. That's basically 62% of students polled saying that they want the fairness doctrine by law instituted, where for every opinion you broadcast, you give a platform to, you have to give an opposing opinion. So again, this is absolutely frightening. 44% of respondents in this poll, compared to 39%, were unaware of the fact that the First Amendment, as defined by the Supreme Court, protects hate speech as free speech. Because of now hate, of course, now hate speech is anything right of Karl Marx. It's literally Hitler. The majority of respondents in this poll were unaware of that fact. Frightening state of understanding and awareness about free speech on US campuses right now. And that's because in some cases, the professors are literally members of Antifa, a group that violently attacks people over their free speech, a group that burns signs that say free speech. So we had this article up on Infowars.com yesterday. Antifa professor who bragged about teaching future dead cops, those are his own words, future dead cops, complains about receiving threats. Let me read some of the tweets that this professor, Michael Isaacson, tweeted back in August. Now they're finally getting attention. This is a guy
God,
who
look at that loser. He looks like reality winner. Give that guy a top security clearance.
Alex, you coined the term, really you popularized the term chicken-necked thug. This is the epitome of a chicken-necked thug. Look at that neck. Look at it. But this is a guy, this is serious. This guy is a professor who is an admitted open member of Antifa who teaches police officers at John Jay College in New York. He teaches cops. Listen to what he had to say about cops. These were his own tweets over the last few weeks. This is Mike Isaacson, the professor, chicken neck thug. Some of y'all might think it sucks being an anti-fascist teaching at John Jay College, but I think it's a privilege to teach future dead cops. That's what he tweeted. He followed it up with this imaginary violent scenario in which one of the cops asks him, quote, "Weren't you my econ professor?" He responds, "See, you had the opportunity." Blade drops. So he's literally imagining himself murdering a police officer in the future who attended some of his classes. This guy is completely insane, hysterical. He's teaching police officers. He's a member of Antifa. Here's another tweet, August 16th, Mike Isaacson. Quote, "What's even the point of a cop that isn't dead?" This guy is teaching police officers. Here's another one. "I hope somehow a SARTA comes up in lecture so a student defends her saying she didn't kill a cop, so I can say she probably did, and it's good." So who is a SARTA? Well, he's talking about Assata Shakur, the cop-killing domestic terrorist who is on the FBI's top most wanted terrorist list, who is the foundational guru for Black Lives Matter. They literally chant her name at every Black Lives Matter demonstration. She killed a police officer. She's on the run. She's in exile in Cuba, I think it is. She's a domestic terrorist, FBI most wanted. He's saying that it's good that she killed a police officer. Here's another one of Professor Mike Isaacson's tweets. This is from April 6th. How to stop war. Shut down weapons factories, kill superior officers, overthrow capitalism. So again, he's talking about
that is a standard Bolshevik playbook.
Exactly. Now, this is a guy who teaches police officers. They've put him on administrative leave. He's literally publicly calling for the murder of police officers. They haven't even properly fired him yet. Even de Blasio, Alex, who went out to, I think it was Hamburg a few months ago to support Antifa, basically. Even de Blasio came out in New York and said that basically this guy needed to go. So this has only come about in the last few days as a result of this group called Far Left Watch, which dug into his tweets from a month ago, brought them to public attention. He since got crushed in a debate with Tucker Carlson on Fox News. He was also on another Fox News show, I think it was the night after. But this guy has not been fired as of yet. This is the protection that they're affording to some of these Antifa professors.
Which shows the majority of the faculty supports it, and that's why he's so arrogant to run around in public trying to organize mass murder.
Exactly. I mean, you remember the professor back a few months ago, I think he was at Berkeley as well, who smashed the guy over the head with a bike lock. Again, Antifa member professor. And we wonder why university campuses are creating these little...
We wonder why this big Baylor professor who's involved in the vaccine of kids says kill all the white people. She's a white lady. It's like some lunatic asylum echo chamber.
No, exactly. And I think we've got that clip ready now, Alex. I want to go to that clip. This is a professor, and this only, again, came out recently. Carol J. Baker, MD. They were talking about vaccines and the fact that the vast majority of people who refuse vaccines for their children are white people. And she was like, oh, the immigrants are great. They're so good. They take all their vaccines. If we could just get rid of white people. Here's the insidious thing about this. She's an infectious disease expert as well. Remember Dr. Eric Pianka, who talked about Ebola wiping out everyone and they all stood up and applauded. And he was an expert in infectious, I think it was biological warfare or something similar to that. Again, in another Texas college, I think it was. But this is Carol J. Baker, MD.
Yeah, that's right. He said he can't wait till 90+% are dead with a projection of red skulls behind him. He got a crying 3-minute standing ovation by the Texas Academy of Scientists.
And that was 11 years ago, maybe even 12 years ago.
It was 11 years ago.
Yeah, this shows how far we've gone. Let's go to the clip of Carol J. Baker at the event in Georgia saying we need to get rid of all the white people. Here's the clip.
I'm complaining because the average pediatrician or internist has 10 minutes for a visit, and you want to have them go get media trained? Excuse me.
Look at this loon bat.
The fight, the battle is being fought. One family, one physician, one health center. That's why we're doing as well as we are. We're talking about the minority and strategies against the minority. So I have the solution. Every study published in the last 5 years, when you look at vaccine refusers, I'm not talking about, well, hesitants, most of them we can talk into coming to terms,
you can
but
bully,
refusers. We'll just get rid of all the whites in the United States because Houston is the most diverse city in the entire United States. There's 7 Asian languages spoken in that city.
This is virtue signal.
I've been a minority for more than 20 years in the city of Houston.
She's kind of an argument for getting rid of white people.
The majority is, we call Hispanic. That is not a race or an ethnicity. That is a political designation. But a lot of them are from Central, South America, Mexico. Guess who wants to get vaccinated the most? Immigrants.
People you control.
Part of it.
That's what made Donald Trump's comment about bringing disease so funny. They're at risk when they come here.
Immigrants.
Have better vaccination rates in Mexico.
It is the well-educated, in terms of pieces of paper that they put on their wall, people that have been here a long time, and it's very unfortunate. But I think we need not lose the big picture.
Yeah, like the Guatemalans. I'm sorry, Paul. I have to take over. The show's so good. I mean, like all the Latin Americans they caught giving syphilis to. That was very loving.
But again, these are the people who are teaching our kids, Alex. With literal members of Antifa and people who say kill all the white people. No wonder. And while I'm talking about this, if they want to go on my Twitter, there's a picture that I posted today of some creature, some gender fluid creature. I don't quite know what it is, but the line is professor material right here. That's the tweet. And it's this creature, I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, wearing a shirt that says white men are terrorists. He, or whatever the hell it is probably a professor at Berkeley. This Carol Baker's a professor. We've got this Antifa member who's literally fantasizing on Twitter about killing cops while teaching cops, saying, I'm teaching future dead cops. Isn't it great? Well,
but Paul, it's projection. It's projection. These are losers that hate themselves. They're white, so they keep projecting. And I keep asking, why is it mainly whites saying kill all the whites? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Take over.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, Alex, because if you want to go back to the Antifa professor with the chicken neck, the chicken-necked thug, people began making memes out of his chicken neck. For example, putting his head on top of a Pez container, which was a particularly good one. But he responded, he was obviously triggered by that. He said, oh, you sound like the people in my kindergarten who bullied me. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. That might explain where his entire demeanor and attitude comes from. You see the Pez meme right there. He responded to that and he was like, oh, This is the intellectual level.
But show him on Tucker Carlson above. He has a literal ostrich neck. What the hell is that?
Scary.
No, I told you, I've been out at these demonstrations. They either look like goblins or chicken necks.
Exactly. But now, Alex, we've got this article, and even a liberal studies professor, there are a few actual classical liberals left, called Michael Rechtenwald. The headline is NYU professor calls on John Jay College president to terminate Mike Isaacson. This is out of Far Left Watch because he hasn't been terminated yet. This is the letter that he wrote to the college. This is a liberal studies professor. I'm a full professor at NYU and a concerned educator. I'm not a right-winger, an alt-right-winger, or even a conservative. I'm a firm advocate of academic freedom and the intellectual self-determination of university and college faculty members. I strongly believe in the U.S. Constitution, the rights endowed each and every one of us by virtue of the Constitution and its first 10 amendments. I am asking you to terminate the employment of Mike Isaacson, not only for what he has said, but also for what he advocates, the infringement of others' rights, even their right to live. Isaacson openly advocates the stripping of rights from those with whom he disagrees. Antifa's state admission. They aim to silence and destroy their enemies by any means necessary. So you've got huge representatives of cop unions coming out. You've even got people like de Blasio, who by no means is a right-winger.
And the college still won't do it because he's saying what they're pushing.
They still won't do it. They've put him on administrative leave. This has been raging since last week. They still haven't fired him. There's a big petition that's gone out today, Alex, calling for him to be fired. Still haven't fired him. They're clinging on to this. We'll see what happens. But these kind of people are teaching your kids. No surprise, therefore, that we have this behavior from students. This is an article out of Campus Reform. Pro-Antifa students give the finger to victims of communism. Antifa supporting students from Clemson University recently expressed their political sentiment by openly mocking the victims of communism memorial on social media. So they've got this cute little thing where they find memorial statues that haven't yet been torn down that are homages to victims of communism, and they give them the middle finger and post it on Twitter because that's so brave, isn't it? So it's literally a monument to the more than 100 million victims of communism around the world, and to the freedom of those still living under totalitarian regimes. They gave it the finger because that's edgy, because that's cool. They're literally communists who advocate totalitarian.
So let me ask you this question, Paul. We're skipping this break so you have more time. What happens to these people if they don't take over, or if they do? You can tell I've been in here eating my lunch, messing with my hair. But the point is that what happens to the millions of weird mentally ill ne'er-do-wells that have been created?
They all go on to work for Google and Facebook and Twitter. That's what a lot of them do, especially, on the West Coast. That's why we see ridiculous levels of censorship now being intensified on social media, because they're doing all these, they're doing diversity hires for one, which is people who aren't talented or skillful.
Or they get national security jobs like Reality Winner.
Yeah, so they're doing that, and they're also, these chicken-necked thugs, literal chicken-necked thugs, are being given censorship jobs within the new Ministry of Truth, which is Facebook, which is Twitter, which is YouTube. So that's where they're going. I mean, some of them are going to grow out of it. I mean, I had idiotic opinions about the world when I was 16. I actually grew up. The fact is they're in arrested development, and they've got these teachers telling them that they have the moral high ground, that they're literally fighting fascists, and they believe it. It's a cult. So it's whether they can escape the cult. The Kool-Aid is pretty tempting at this point, because they're being exalted not only by their own professors, but by the media and the political class, of course, who came out vehemently after Charlottesville and backed Antifa. Now, since then, some of them have had to reverse that and back away. Some of them haven't. So again, they're being given the moral high ground. They're being pumped full of this righteous indignation. They literally think they're fighting Nazis. So they're going to continue with this. And
they'll just randomly walk up to any well-dressed woman and hit her in the head with a bike lock or a club. And then it turns out it'll be like some liberal lesbian they almost kill with a subdermal hematoma. But they just don't care because they just want to kill somebody.
No, I mean, I predict soon. I mean, this is like a weatherman style attitude, right? They're going to start bombing police stations soon. You watch. They're going to start kidnapping and killing people. That's the next step. I mean, it's an absolute miracle that Antifa hasn't killed somebody already. They violently assaulted innumerable people, put them in hospital, vicious attacks. I'm predicting there will be some kind of domestic terror attack, and it will be the violent, hysterical alt-left responsible for it. And when it happens, the media will gloss over it as quickly as possible.
Well, Paul, I don't want to disagree with you, but Black Lives Matter, Antifa, two different arms on the same Soros machine, they all hype each other up. There are hundreds of deaths from the knockout game and whites being killed by brainwashed black racist groups, and that just gets glossed over. So I think Antifa as agitators that we've seen kind of at Black Lives Matter events like Ferguson kind of running things, I think they have been causing death.
No, if you want to include BLM have directly been responsible for deaths. I mean, you can talk about Ishmael Brinsley, who said his killing of 2 police officers in New York, where he shot them in the head, by the way, one was Hispanic, one was Asian, was a revenge attack for Black Lives Matter. He actually said that. So he was hopped up on this racial hysteria. Of course, you had the Dallas massacre by a guy who went out and said specifically he wanted to kill white people, ended up shooting, I think it was at least one black cop as well. Again, that was directly attributable to Black Lives Matter rhetoric. Their foundational guru, who is also idolized by this Antifa professor, is a cop-killing domestic terrorist. Well, what could possibly go wrong? Are they going to start killing people? Well, yeah, in the case of Black Lives Matter, their rhetoric has led to the murder of cops. So it's going to lead to the same thing with Antifa. This is coming, and it's not going to be long. The positive development, Alex, was in Berkeley last week. They had, I think it was a new ordinance or a law that was re-upped. It was brought back into line where they could arrest anyone who was wearing a mask or had a weapon. So if you have that in every single state, at every protest, if you have that enshrined in law, if you're covering up your face at a protest, or if you're carrying a weapon, you're subject to immediate arrest. That is going to shut down Antifa completely. Because in New Jersey, the feds are treating them as a terrorist movement anyway, so that could spread as well. Of course, you have the libertarian argument, should any domestic political group be treated as a terrorist group? Maybe not, but at least you could have that law in place which says if you're wearing a mask, you ain't coming to this protest. You're going at home in a paddy wagon or whatever. That worked at Berkeley. There was no mass riot because beforehand, the cops at Berkeley were told to stand off. People got beat up.
Well, sure, and that's the next setup they've got for next week. I wanted to ask you about that, Paul. But what they do is if you sign on to a group that says we believe in preemptive violence to shut down other people's speech, you're like the KKK bombing blacks in the 60s or something. You've gone out of free speech and are now a terrorist organization. So it's the anti-terror laws that have to be used against them. When they're in these meetings organizing this crap, they'll go, yeah, we're going to kill people or we're going to stop speech. Boom, they get arrested. And then everybody else gets their rights. They lose theirs because they organize a criminal operation.
Well, that's what a lot of people call it. A lot of people say it's dangerous because then they could use it arbitrarily against any group and it would be abused. So that debate's ongoing. But again, I mean, just look what happened. They've caused absolute carnage, and now the professors are the ones who are leading the violence and calling for more violence. It's absolutely insane. Alex, I want to move on to some other stories now, though, because we've got about 5-6 minutes left. We were talking earlier about censorship by Facebook and Google. Meanwhile, they're propping up literal child exploitation and pedophilia. This is out of The Sun. YouTube accused of cashing in on child exploitation clips while cutting payments from a platform that gives abused women a voice. YouTube has been accused of making money out of child exploitation clips, and the clip they mention is a clown injecting a traumatized child with a giant needle. This is like bordering on pedophilia stuff. It's monetized. It's not age restricted. It's monetized. That's perfectly fine on YouTube. Oh, but I made a video criticizing modern art. That was not only demonetized, it was age restricted. Can't criticize modern art. No, of course, with the age restriction thing, it prevents it from having that viral spread because people have to sign into their YouTube account just to watch the video. A lot of people don't have a YouTube account, so that's one way in which they push through this censorship. Again, all but one of my recent videos on YouTube over the past couple of weeks, they've all been demonetized. Again, I've cut out completely all the swear words, still demonetized. You've got makeup tutorial videos being demonetized. So it's not even about political targeting anymore. It's about a complete mess. The fact that they bought into this moral panic, this hysteria, which ramped up after Charlottesville. Now they're just censoring everything. The algorithm is completely broken. It's a complete embarrassment. It's affecting people who aren't even political. And they just pretend everything's fine, and they just get along with it. They don't even bring it up as that there's a problem. They don't even acknowledge it. Absolutely incredible. Going to move on to some European news now, though. This is out of RT. Eiffel Tower goes bulletproof, France ups security at iconic site. Now, we heard this was coming down the pipe a few months ago. Now work has begun on a bulletproof wall of glass along the base of the Eiffel Tower. The measure is part of a multi-million-euro effort to improve security at the Paris tourist attraction amid the country's ongoing state of emergency. Okay, so if Europe had proper borders, it wouldn't need hideous internal borders such as this one. The great thing about the Eiffel Tower, what made it great in the first place, was that whole area was absolutely beautiful because it was wide open. No entrance fee, no barriers, no gates. You could just walk in there, look up at the stunning building. This icon of Paris was wide open. It was brilliant. No longer, because now we've accepted our cultural enrichment. They literally need to build a wall around it. Oh, but we can't build a wall around our own country, even though Hungary did, and it literally stopped illegal immigration by like 98%. No, we can't do that. Breitbart reports French university suspends all courses due to migrant squatters. The University of Reims Champagne-Ardenne has suspended all courses due to security concerns after around 40 migrants began to squat on the campus only days after classes began. Now, this is replicated in numerous cities and towns all across France. You can go to Paris and see it. Many parts of France literally turning into migrant tent cities. They got a lot of heat over the Calais migrant camp. They raised it, and all the migrants simply moved into the streets. There's no solution to this. They won't deport them. More are coming in. It's an absolute mess. One of the bombers, one of the London bombers, was a Calais migrant, a refugee, that got into the country after going through on the European refugee route. His accomplice was also a refugee, a Syrian refugee. It's an absolute mess. Europe is under assault, and France, areas of France have been turned into giant open-air migrant camps. It's a total mess. Luckily, in places like Germany, the AfD is rising. There is some form of backlash. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the Alex Jones Show. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Thanks for joining us.
Let's go to Debit in Florida. Debit in Florida, you're on the air.
Great. Hey, thank you so much. Listen, I have bought your product, and I gotta say they're amazing. Anyone who's on the fence, buy it, because I've got Caveman, Superman Vitality, Secret 12, Vitamin Mineral Fusion. I've got the body armor.
Wow, thank you.
Wow.
You're the type of listener that makes it all possible. Which nutraceutical does you like best?
I really like the Vitamin Mineral Fusion, to be honest. That's
amazing.
Really incredible. I drank it in the morning, and I swear to you, I felt incredible. Like I haven't felt weak. My morning was fantastic, and I love you guys. I love the InfoWars crew, and I just want to, I want to take this opportunity to tell anybody out there who's on the fence. Just buy it. You will love it. I'm telling you, I've never bought a bad product.
What you find in our news is the same thing you find in our products at InfoWarsLife.com. It's a win-win. InfoWarsLife.com.